All right, let me just go ahead and notify my Discord that I'm doing a stream. All right, so I don't know, I'm gonna wait for some more people to get in, but the plan of this stream is to just refactor some code and maybe work on a side project. And I think someone sent me a message about refactoring code. Forget who it was though. Actually, I could just do this. I have a project I need to kind of refactor a little bit. Yeah, so let me wait for people to join. If anyone's in the stream. Give me 1 second. All right, so let's see if anyone's joined. We got one person. What's up? How's it going, Kuo? I think you're in my channel, my Discord channel, so welcome. The idea is I have a little project that someone is working on, and I wanted to kind of go through the code and see if there's ways that we can refactor it. And then there's also another live video I did like a couple weeks ago. I want to kind of address some comments on that one because some people liked it, some people are kind of angry at me for some reason. At least they seem angry in the comments. But let's go ahead and look at this one project. Let me run this real quick and make sure it all works. I don't think this is it. Sometimes when I load up my projects in Visual Studio Code, it like doesn't actually change my terminal to the right directory. I don't know if that's a setting I need to set up, but I'll probably just check it out at a later time. All right, so here's a little idea I'm trying to have someone build for me where basically I can put all of my ideas for my YouTube videos and shorts and whatever into one place, and people can vote on it. People can upload their ideas, and then I as an admin can come through and mark stuff as completed and basically put a link to the video once it's been completed. And the idea is just so I have a better place to manage, because right now I'm managing everything in Discord over here with these video ideas, and there's always a lot of noise. Like someone will post a video idea, but then there's like a bunch of chatter going on. So I just need to find a better process to like know of how to track these video ideas. So I wanted someone to kind of build that for me. But yeah, let's just go ahead and show you how this works. Make sure the sign-in works properly real quick. So you can sign in. This uses Google authentication. This is the next application using Tailwind, I believe, is using Next Auth for the Google authentication. I got a Google app set up. You can sign in. And then you can create a new idea. So I can say, hello, what is up? And you can select the category. So YouTube Shorts, opinions on, project ideas, tutorial. I might add some more categories here in a second. I'm going to click Create. And hopefully this works. I haven't tried this project in a hot minute, but it looks like I might be crashing right now. Let's Figure out why. Please make sure your database service is running. So I think right now this actually requires a real database to be running. If I look at the .env, I don't think there's anything sensitive in here, but yeah, this expects a real database to be set up. So I do have Docker installed, so I should probably get my Docker hub running, or my Docker desktop running at the very least. And I should have a container called YouTube videos. If you don't know what Docker is, it's basically a way to have like a completely isolated operating system running inside your own operating system, right? So although I'm running Mac OS X right now, or iOS, whatever it's called, inside of this OS, I can actually run like Ubuntu, I can run CentOS, I can run these different boxes that are fully isolated and have access to like the network. So in this case, I have a completely isolated Linux box that has my SQL installed on it. I click play, that's going to host that box. So within a couple of seconds, I should be able to actually access that database. Let me just restart my server just in case. And I wanted to try one thing. Let me know. I'm going to try screencast mode, where basically as I type, it tells you the keys I'm typing. And also my cursor, when I click, you can see where I'm clicking. So if that is annoying to you, let me know. But if you think that's interesting to keep it going for a little bit, we can do that. So let's verify this works. So now this is connected to a database. And what this is doing is I can go in and I can like or unlike different things. So the idea is like my subscribers can go here. I'll probably pin it in my Discord or my YouTube description. They can upload videos, they can like videos, and then I could sort and see which the most important videos I need to make is. Let me check chat real quick, see if anyone is streamed in. All right, welcome everybody. Yeah, I just Alexander Things. When are you gonna do a video on my Trello project? I think this is right here, right? I was gonna do this in the stream. So if you stick around for a little bit, I probably will get to it. To be honest, some people send me links to their projects and ask me to refactor them, but like their code looks good. Like there's only so much you can do in terms of refactoring. And I was trying to like have this internal, let me go to Excel real quick. It's having like this debate in my head. It's like, when do you stop doing refactoring? Because like at some point your code is going to be good enough to like not even really matter. So let me just do this real quick. I want to make this clear, because I think Theo kind of talked about this, and I think it's important to kind of highlight, because when people watched my last refactoring code, like they seemed like they got mad in the comments, and I'll show my the comments for that video in just a bit, and you guys can kind of gauge those. But there's like a sweet spot of like where you should stop your refactoring, right? You could spend to get it to great code, you could spend literally like days trying to get it perfect, like trying to get it really good. You could spend a lot of time making it really great, or you could spend, you know, this amount, which is the threshold that you set for yourself, where the code is good enough, you have tests over it. And that's kind of like what I'm shooting for in my live streams, is just get it good enough where it's better than it was before. And then you can slowly push that line if you need to. Like as you start seeing patterns in your code base, you can start moving that line to better and better and better. But you just want to get it out of this range over here where like the code is just really bad. You have magic numbers everywhere. You have high coupling, low cohesion, stuff like that. So that's the thing I'm going for when I do refactoring. So let's look at this project real quick. This is the Next project. If you don't know Next, it's fine. Next is just like React with some extra stuff. There's a pages folder in Next, and this is how you access your Next applications, your different routes. So Next uses directory or file-based routing. So every file here corresponds to a route here. So first thing is, let's go to the index. This is where I'm at now. I'm at the index, and let's look at some of this code. So he is using TypeScript, and if we look through the code, we have the home page. And when the app first loads, we are loading a category, right? So YouTube Shorts, and I believe there's some other categories you can do here. We'll have to figure this out. This might be an opportunity to refactor this away to an enum. So I will say that the issue with the MacBook I have, the MacBook Air, I only have 2 ports. So one of them is plugged into my phone. That's my camera right now. The other one is plugged into my microphone. So I don't have another port to plug in my actual power. So what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to turn off my phone and switch over to my webcam. That was one mistake I made with this computer. I know I can buy like an external, I need to buy an external adapter so I can have multiple USB-C plugins. But let me plug this in before the stream dies and you all just disappear. So going back to here, let me make sure if I switch over to this. What's up, y'all? I'm gonna go ahead and unplug my phone now. Hopefully it doesn't mess anything up. Plug in my laptop and sorry, haven't really gotten to refactoring any code. Slow start. But I am gonna go load up YouTube on my phone so I can kind of look at comments as they're coming in. And let me go ahead and not share that. Let's go to the comments. Anyone asking any questions? Yeah, Armando, you can send your link. I don't know how many projects I'll get to. And again, don't be disappointed if like the way I'm doing refactoring isn't like awesome. I feel like so many people got angry at my other video for some reason. I think it'll be better if you make a Discord bot. That might be interesting. So you're talking about like keeping track of the ideas in a Discord bot. That's a good idea, actually. So people can say like upload an idea. And maybe the Discord bot can be like the data entry portion to this, where I can see all the ideas in a nice format. And then, you know, users can just upload straight to this thing. So yeah, that's a great idea. Let's see. I have a question regarding testing. Mohammed said, I have never written a test before. My question is it really that important to write tests for my project, the side project, by the way, or is it enough to do it manually? This is a personal preference, right? As your project gets larger, you're going to have to test more stuff manually, and you're going to reach a point where you're spending more time testing your code than you are like actually changing code and refactoring code and adding new features. So I would, at the very least, like get some end-to-end tests going, like using Cypress, test like the most important flows. But if you want to get experience with like integration testing and unit testing, you probably should, because if you join a large scale project that actually has like quality engineers who know what they're doing, they're more than likely going to have a lot of tests to verify that what they're shipping to production, it doesn't have bugs. Front dev, hey, any chance I can contact you personally? You can go to my Discord and send me a message. But if you want me to build you something, like it's very low chance I'm actually going to build you something unless you're willing to pay the same hourly rate that I'm getting at my normal job. So, Mohammed, yeah, so I kind of answered that question. You can defer testing until it gets too hard to manually test all these things. What's your go-to stack, by the way? Right now I've been using like the T3 stack, which has Tailwind, Next, Auth, TypeScript. Don't know if I missed anything. Prisma. Kendall, will you make a PR after refactor the code? Yeah, I could try to do that. Mohammed, and test every input of and test them manually. Yeah, I don't know if I can put my microphone on the audio port because my microphone is like a, what's it called? XLR microphone, and it's plugged into a USB adapter interface, so it has to be USB. There might be workarounds for it, but I just need to buy an actual like a dongle I can plug into one of these ports to give me more USB-C ports. Let's see. Can you make a video about React jobs interviews? I know there's a lot of content on YouTube, but your opinion seems to be real and honest. Yeah, the thing is, I don't really interview people. I haven't volunteered at my current job to like interview people because it just doesn't sound fun. I know I should probably be a team player and interview more people, but the way we do interviews at my company is like different from other companies. But yeah, I could do some like maybe mock interviews with subscribers or my Discord users, and maybe we can just like pretend like we're doing an interview if that would be interesting content to watch. Justin Alexander things about the camera. You can use new Mac OS with camera software camera usage of iOS. Mohammed, by the way, congrats on your Mac M1. I remember you asking me about the M1 in your Discord. Yeah, so far I like it. It's really fast. Sometimes it has issues where I have to actually restart the entire machine because it gets sluggish and slow. I don't like how the screen resolution isn't 1080p. So like I have to, you'll notice like in VS Code, I'm chopping off the bottom. Like starting here, you can't see underneath the counts. And I could fix this with a third monitor, but that's going to take up another USB-C port, which means that I'm going to have less ports. And then I actually have to go and like change all my setup, which I don't want to do. So you're just going to have to see stuff at the bottom get chopped up. What else do I not like about the M1 Pro? The screen resolution, sometimes it's choppy and I have to restart. And yeah, I think that's about it. Other than that, it's really fast to code on. Love these live videos. I recommend doing more of them. You're a great guy. Thanks. Yeah, thank you so much. So let's just try to keep going because I haven't done anything with code really. First thing, I think if you know anything about TypeScript, there's something called enums. And we should probably use an enum here instead of a magic number. This is a magic number. It's a string, but it's a kind of like a magic number where whenever you have hard-coded things like this, kind of a red flag. Like you shouldn't have hard-coded things like this. You should pull them out into constants or enums. So I'm going to go ahead and try to do that. I know he has a type of iCategory, but let me actually try to change this to an enum. And by the way, as I'm doing refactoring, like let me know if you think of a better way for me to do this stuff. Like again, I just do the first thing that comes to my mind, but again, there's like 101 ways to do stuff in code. So don't get mad if I don't do it the way that you think it should be done. But at the very least, what I should do is pass in a category, and I'm going to say shorts. And I'm going to change this to just category. I don't know if there's like a common convention for naming enums, but I think this is cleaner because now like I get the autocomplete when I have different categories. And we have 4 total categories, so I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this a couple times. We have, I don't even remember what we have. Let's go here. Hard idea, unhard idea category. YouTube shorts, opinions, project ideas, and tutorials. All right, so let's do shorts, opinions, ideas, or projects. Let me rename that as shorts. And then what was the last one again? Tutorials. Tutorials. And by the way, this is autocomplete thing. Is this just annoying for you all, or is it actually useful? Like where it says toggle terminal and stuff. I could turn this off if it's annoying. But this is how you can do enum. Technically, I don't think we actually need to put these here. Like I could have just done, I think, oops. Could have just done this. And I think this would still work fine. But I kind of like having it set to a string. I don't know. But anyway, so now we got these categories here. And when we need to change categories, instead of doing this category type equals to this, you could just use the enum. So I could say categories dot shorts. Category dot opinion. Projects. Again, these are magic numbers. You don't want to have these in your code base. You want to make sure you pull them out somewhere else so that's easier to refactor. And here we go. So at this point, the code is a little bit cleaner. I mean, I didn't really do too much, but it's always good to just like change stuff up. Let me go ahead and see. It's good to, I like putting stuff on different lines like this because it's easier for me to read. Like whenever you have multiple properties on the same line, it just makes it harder to read. And I like putting the ending curly brace on the same line. I need to set up an ESLN for the project, which I could probably do on a live stream. Okay, so this is complaining because it's not assignable to value void. The type string is not accessible to set state action value. So for the nav bar, it would probably make sense to like not have it take in this dispatch. Like you don't want your subcomponent to be coupled to React's implementation of a store or of the state hook, right? So hover over this, this says type of dispatch, set state action, right? You don't want this thing to be coupled to your implementation detail of where you're storing this thing, because this thing could be stored in Zustan, this could be stored in Redux, this could be stored anywhere else. So you really don't want this thing set category type to kind of be hard coded to that. One thing I could do here is make sure you change this to category, which I think we'll have to go here and export it so we can access that enum in the other file. I'll say category, auto import that. Instead of calling it value, like, what are we setting? We're setting a category, so it makes more sense to name this a category, in my opinion, and void's fine here. So to fix this lint error, which I guess we kind of did, because it takes in the correct type now. But if you wanted to kind of, again, like I said, abstract that away from the dispatch, you could just take in the category, and this could just set the category here. All right, is this cleaner? I don't know, but we'll just keep it like that. What else can we look at? Let me go back to the comments real quick, because I think there's a lot of people asking questions. Jamie Davis says just output native res. I can't, because this is what you're watching is native res, right? So in OBS, let me just show you real quick. Native res, if you look down here, or maybe you're talking about over here. If I go to video and output. So you're saying output here, the aspect ratio of 16:10. I don't know if I can even change that, to be honest. I probably could. But I'll give that a shot. Maybe I can just output my native resolution and YouTube will just rescale it for me. But I'll check that out. I just don't want it to cut stuff off, and I don't want to really squish, because I think if you have a different resolution than 1080p, it's gonna, YouTube's end up gonna like squish your stuff and then put like a black bar somewhere. I'm not really a fan of that, so I'm trying to avoid that. Let's see, people are talking about M1 external monitors. Yeah, I only work on a laptop monitor, and that's the way I like to work. That's my workflow, so I don't want to kind of deviate too much from that. I have an external monitor, so I don't have any problem regarding the monitor. Okay. Jane says, your refactoring videos are cool. By the way, not stream on Twitch. Yeah, I do plan to like set up restream, and I can stream on both platforms. I just don't want to juggle too many things at once, right? I just want to stream on YouTube for now, build up my subscribers, and then at some point I can figure all that other stuff. It'll only take like an hour to figure out how to do restream. But I don't know. I guess Twitch people are cool. I just haven't really been a big fan of like the Twitch community. Seems like people on YouTube are a lot more like non-toxic, if that's even a correct way to say it. All right, he means more than one at once. Okay. Front dev says, I don't know if I'm ready to apply for a first job as a front-end developer. I learned HTML, CSS, and Vue.js. I've also created 4 small projects, but I don't know when to apply. I mean, you could probably just start applying now. Like, what's the worst thing that happens? They're going to say no, right? And they're going to tell you, hopefully, like why they didn't accept you. Maybe they think you don't know much about it. But it's good to apply and start like interviewing places now, because actually interviewing is a skill that you have to build, right? You have to be able to sit down in front of one or maybe a panel of different people and answer their questions, and you're going to get nervous. You're going to get probably anxious, unless you're a person who doesn't get that way. But it's going to be hard to answer these questions on the spot and not feel like I don't know, you're about to have a heart attack, right? So it's good to kind of get the experience of interviewing. And I would just like, don't even read the descriptions of the requirements, just apply places. And then while you're applying, like also just keep learning how to code, right? Muhammad says, can you make a video explaining why someone should use Next when we have a normal React other than it supports? Yeah, I could try to make a video on that. Could you go on my Discord and put that for me so I can like remember it? You can when stream is off, but yeah, YouTube is fancy nowadays. I don't remember what that response was to. I probably said something. Last question before I go back to the code. Mohammed says, hi, I am in the refactoring period. Is it necessary to convert page components as lazy components? I don't think so. It depends. If you're using Next, sometimes you need to use lazy components so that the server doesn't render your component. Because sometimes your components do stuff that should only ever run in the client. So that's when you might want to use lazy components. Also, if you have a component, for example, let's say you have a component that has a rich text editor. Let me go React. Maybe this one. So I don't know how big this project is, but if you have a component that seems like it might be pretty big, like 100, 200, 300 kilobytes, you don't want that component to have to be included in your bundle. So you want to lazy load it, right? That's one example on our project. We have like, I think it's like PDF lib. That's like 500 megabytes or something, or PDF.js. I don't know, but we don't want to include that in the initial React bundle because that's like a lot of code that's only used for one page. There's only one page that's using this rich text editor or the PDF.js that we're talking about. So why include it in your initial bundle and have it be loaded on every page? So if you really want to care about tweaking your performance and how quick pages load, then yes, you probably want to convert some components to lazy components. I will put a pause here for Peter. I don't know how to pronounce your name, but let me go back to the code because I am trying to refactor some code at least. So does that make sense? We use the enum here. Everything is it's a little bit cleaner. Let's look at the code some more. So when this page loads, he has an effect which fetches the likes. And what is he doing here? So this is a function that does an Axios call to API likes. So one thing that a lot of people do is they will make another folder. Some people call it API, so maybe I'll call it API. And they want to abstract away Axios. Your component shouldn't have Axios in the component, right? Axios is like an implementation detail of your communication layer to your backend. So if you sprinkle your Axios calls all throughout your code base and you have like hundreds of components, what happens if you decide you don't want to use Axios anymore and you want to use something else that's better? Now you got to go through 200 components, find everywhere you use Axios. This component is also coupled to the idea that Axios returns a data in the object. So like you just don't want that coupling, right? So I would make an API here. You can call it like get likes .ts. And I'm going to go ahead and say export get likes is a function, export function get likes. Let me stay true to myself. I don't like using the function keyword. I don't know. Some people do. There's probably a good reason to why you want to use it and why you don't. But you want to abstract away Axios, right? So the thing that this thing returns, it's going to be an array of likes, which I think comes directly from Prisma. So I have a type already. And I'm going to go ahead and just return an empty array for right now so I don't get some issues. But what we're going to do is we're going to take that code, put it right here, bring in Axios, make this async, and now we're just going to return likes from the API. And let's see if there's an issue with this. Like is not a valid function. Let me see what's going on here. So he has it scoped as any. I think I could, I don't know if Axios supports generics. Like, let me see if I can put something like this. Type like is not a valid async function, return type. Oh, okay. So this returns a promise that has an array of likes. So it's as simple as that. And I think it looks like this does have, yeah, I might need to just do this. If I don't do this, what happens? Anyway, I think this works. I'll just do this. And yeah, let's go back to the UI and we're going to use that instead. So I'm going to say set likes here. I'm going to say const likes from API is equal to get likes, all that, all a wait on it, delete that. You could, if you want to put it one line, you could do that too. Don't know what the best approach is. Or you could do some promise chaining. Just say set likes like this. It's okay. Sometimes I don't like using async await. Some people think that you always have to use async await, but there's a time where you want to use it and there's a time that you don't. in my opinion. And if this makes it look a little bit cleaner, I'm so used to promises, so this seems easier to read to me than like doing the await stuff, because we don't care about the likes that came back from the back end. We just need to put it straight into the state. So this shouldn't be any. A TypeScript refactoring is don't use the any keyword, so make sure you set this to a like as well. Now we don't need Axios here, so we kind of clean that code up. We're not coupling this component to Axios. Let's make sure this still loads. Refresh the page. We still get back that like. Now I want to look at this. Like, what is this doing? He declared the context. Okay, context interface. Let's see. Likes context interface. Anyway, let's keep reading through some code and see if we can find more things. So he has context here, setting the context value in here so that he can, context value is liked. I don't know why I said he, I think I added this code. So yeah, this thing is used to know if the thing is actually hearted or not, right? So there is some context where we have a function called isLiked. You pass it the like idea, it runs through your likes, and it basically figures out if the heart should be filled in or not. And then we also have a fetch likes, which we can call to basically refresh all the likes, I believe. And again, that's called on mount, but yeah, let's just keep reading. I'm not sure if I'm seeing a great way to refactor. All right, so let's look at the actual subcomponents. I do think I remember seeing some stuff that was kind of duplicate. So if you look at all these different things, like we have the YouTube Shorts, we have opinions, you'll notice that the code is almost identical between all of these. Like it mounts, we fetch ideas, opinions on. This mounts, we fetch ideas, YouTube Shorts. So there is a opportunity to kind of clean this up into a single component, I think. So let's try to work towards that. Like, I feel like all of these categories are the same, and the only difference between them is this key right here. So this might be a great opportunity to dry some code up. So honestly, sometimes you don't need to have subcomponents. Just put it in line. Like, unless you feel a real reason to have these subcomponents, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to put some of this code directly here. And we can just figure out along the way if this is a good approach or if we're just making the code more dirty. But we have likes here, right? So instead of like having to put it in context and whatever else, let me go back to the, yeah, so I think likes will fetch all the likes, but then it has the ability to pass in some categories, right? So, not find name of ideas. Right, okay. Give me a second, my brain's still trying to wake up. Let me get some coffee. Okay, so I think we need to fetch the ideas in the top level component. And again, like what I'm doing is instead of having all these subcomponents that have basically duplicate code, let's just take a step back, pull it all to the parent component first, and then see if there's a way to abstract it and dry it away later on. Because I think we kind of went off the deep end of making children components when we didn't really need them, maybe. So instead, I'm going to have state of ideas here. And then when this component mounts, I'm going to go ahead and move this code down here. I don't like how we have a fetch likes here. I don't think we need that. So the context stuff might just go away, to be honest. But let's follow the same approach. We have a Axios. Okay, here's another thing. We're using fetch. All right, so the first API thing where we got the likes, we're using Axios. And now we're using fetch. So I would not pick and choose different like HTTP libraries. I would basically make another API called like get ideas. export const get ideas. And this is going to be a function that probably takes in a category. Remember that enum we created? We can pass in a category, run that code. I'm going to say category here could be a category string. And again, we could probably just wait on it. I'm gonna use axios.get this time instead of fetch. I don't know why there's doing two different things. And we are gonna go ahead and just return ideas here. All right, so that is the wrong category. Oh, it should be called idea, not category. What am I doing? Obviously, we need to import Axios. Right now, I'll do categories as string, but we need to come back and actually like clean that up. Parse error. Sometimes when I'm coding, like, I know you guys probably see the bug already, but sometimes like I just can't find the syntax error. I don't know if it's because I'm getting older or my eyes suck, but like there is a basic syntax error somewhere here, which I cannot for the life of me see what's going on. Parsing error. Hey bro, am I going crazy? Let me look at the chat real quick. I must be going crazy. Sometimes TypeScript just doesn't like work. Sorry, y'all. Export const get ideas is equal to a function. Oh, I'm putting. Oh my gosh. Okay, I had to wait here. See, it's like dumb stuff like that that like you spend 5 minutes looking at, and it's like, dude, this is the dumbest mistake you can make. But like we make mistakes like that, right? Yeah. Someone finally. I should have looked at chat, but yeah, people are saying async instead of await. My bad, y'all. Don't judge me too harshly on that issue. But I just kind of want to show that like even if you've been coding for 10 years, you're going to make dumb mistakes like that. And this is the main reason I switched to TypeScript, because I'm tired of like wasting time on dumb mistakes. So let me just see if I can put this here. Like, I don't think there's really a necessary reason to have this like separate function to fetch the ideas. I don't know if we even need context, because context was used just so that we can provide some things to these things. Let me delete that. Let me import idea card. And let me just go ahead and reformat some of this stuff. Idea. Let me go back to the editor or the chat real quick. All right, just Alexander things. How you get this smooth transition effect when changing windows? Yeah, so in Mac you can go to your preferences, and I think you go to accessibility. You go to display. Make sure you have reduced motion and reduced transparency. That'll speed up your computer. The transparency part probably isn't important. I'm just noticing as I'm getting older, it's like harder for me to like do stuff. At some point, I might have to like increase my contrast because I don't know, getting hard. But yeah, that's how you can do it. So it doesn't have like do that whole animation, which I kind of hate. Daily dose of chocolate. When to use interface versus type? Honestly, I don't know. I think they both provide almost the same functionality from what I understand. Like you can still extend other interfaces and you can extend types. I think it's more of like a personal preference on your project. So like you discuss with your team, when do you want to use interfaces? Typically an interface is for like a function. Like a function is an interface between two different components. A type is like a data object. So technically like these, like an idea, it's like a piece of data. So that could be like a type. This thing is like an interface because it takes in I guess this is a type as well, which we don't even need. Let me delete that. I'm deleting everything. We don't need anything. So get ideas. This needs to have a category. So I'm going to say category type here. Let me delete that code too. Yeah, I guess we need to pass in this as a dependency. Now, in this case, when the category changes, you don't want it to like refetch the category type. I mean, you don't want it to like refetch your likes just because you changed the category, in my opinion. But we might need to do two separate effects. I'm going to think more about this before I like just start changing stuff. But I do see some red here. Let's go ahead and look at the red. I think it's because this idea card that we haven't actually looked at yet. So let us go ahead and look at this real quick. I think the idea is, okay, so this is props. This whole thing should probably be an idea, which I think we should have a type coming from Prisma client. Yeah. So this is an idea and this is set ideas. I don't know if we need that yet, but okay, now I'm just deleting everything. I like just put my TypeScript descriptions directly onto the object. That's just me. So I don't have to like go and like jump up to look at the props. Like it just makes sense like this. Anyway, yeah, let's see. This is going to break because of some other stuff to do. Refactor more, maybe. So I think the idea before is like inside the card itself, there's a heart and you can click the heart and it's going to set the thing as liked. And we wanted to kind of refetch the likes when that happens, which is why we had the context. But honestly, like there's no reason to have context in this particular reason because we could just like pass in a callback. Like we're gonna pretend that the idea card has a method called like on heart clicked, handle heart clicked, and I will say idea ID is a string maybe. Do this. Actually, no, hold on. I'll make a function. There's like a convention I just recently saw where whenever you have a function that's being invoked from your onClick listeners, you want to call it handle, like prefix it with the word handle click event. I don't know if that's an actual like thing that people do, but I wanted to start trying it. Also, one thing I want to try to do on my streams is like actually kind of list out in comments what I plan to do. So when someone clicks on a heart, we need to refetch the likes or do some type of like client side optimistic updates, right? But I like to just keep it simple and we could just like do a refetch for right now. So when someone clicks a heart, we need to do two things. I think we need to mark the idea as liked. So let's just do one, mark idea as liked, refetch, optimistic update, maybe. Am I going too fast for people? Am I jumping around? I know I sometimes do that. Let me go back to the chat real quick. Okay. And Schumann says, can't we abstract the context into a separate file and export it as use like custom hooks? So we not need to import use context in every file that will be used in the context. Yeah, we could do that. I don't even know if we need context, which is why I'm trying to like defer doing that. I think we can just get around not using context. I think it was not needed in the first place. Borav, that use state like is confusing. Where's that at? I mean, that's just TypeScript, right? So we're saying to React, we're telling the React library that like the actual thing that we're going to be storing in this state is a like object. In fact, it's an array of like objects. So you kind of want to use generics when you're doing state so that later on, like if I were to do likes of 0 dot something, like we get some type of IntelliSense, hopefully. But obviously it didn't work that time because I think I have a syntax error, but let's see. Use fragments, not div if needed. Where am I using a div when I could be using a fragment? Yeah, here's an extra div. Like we don't need a div and a div. I don't even know why this was here to begin with. So that's another good eye. You don't need to have a div wrapped in a div. That's doing absolutely nothing for us. Even this, he's saying we could just use a fragment here, which is again a great suggestion. So now we have like a section, nav bar, and a header. And the code's a little bit cleaner in that sense. A project for video ideas. Yeah. Let's see. Maka Doka says, or Mocha Doka says, hey, does anyone know what kind of themes he is using for VS Code? I don't know what I'm using. Community material theme, high contrast. I used shades of purple for the longest time. I decided to change it up a little bit. Might go back to shades of purple. I think I liked it better than this, but I'm gonna keep it this for right now. Yeah, this is back when that error I had. Okay, a lot of comments. Let's see if I can get through these. Oh gosh. Yo, you all have a lot of comments, huh? I appreciate it. Very lively. Reload TypeScript maybe. I'm gonna kind of skip through some of these clothing parentheses. I think you guys are all helping me. Async await. Yeah, it's a dumb mistake I made. Wasn't a TS issue. Async await. WTF. Yeah, sorry. I should have looked at chat earlier. Sorry, guys. Don't get mad at me. Get is async. Useless to have two divs. Yep, just refactor that away. What's the plugin you use to show debugging errors in IDE? So yeah, I use something called Error Lens. This one. Definitely recommend. Otherwise, like the only errors that you see are like in the terminal, like a little red circle. So definitely recommend doing this. It really helps me a lot. Why not use get server side props? There's a debate for get server side props where if your database takes a long time to respond, then your page is just going to sit here spinning because it's not going to send back anything to your client until it's done fetching all your ideas. So the idea is, or the argument is, it's a much better user experience to not do get server side props and do real server side rendering, because you still can show the header. You can still show the header. You can show these like tabs. You could show a title, and you could just show a spinner here until it's done fetching the data from the backend. I don't know. I wanted to do some testing on it to see like what is the best approach. But I can kind of see the argument for like it's much better to actually see this stuff in a spinner than just have a page sitting there for a second with a spinner until the actual thing loads. So the difference between interfaces and types, someone says you cannot use unions with interfaces. Again, I'm a TypeScript noob. I just started picking up TypeScript like a couple of weeks ago, and I'm trying to get more into it. Okay, let me rephrase that. I used TypeScript a long time ago when I used AngularJS and Angular. I stopped using TypeScript. I went to JavaScript, and now I'm trying to go back to TypeScript just so I can like be hip like everyone else. Can't you use IDEA instead of IDEA? I would use interfaces if you work with classes or if you have a method otherwise typed. Yeah, I think I mentioned that. I like to use interfaces for actual methods because that's kind of like how it works in like Java and other statically typed languages. Okay, can you show your setup for ESLint? I don't think there is an ESLint setup here yet. I guess there is. I do plan on this stream maybe extending this a little bit. All right, I'm almost at the end of these comments. TypeScript looks weird. Yeah, TypeScript does kind of look weird, but once you get used to it, it's different if you're coming from like Java or C#. If you use those and you know like how static type languages work, then it's cool. Because it's like you're really not really learning anything new. Like you're just putting colons after variables to give it types and stuff. Generics might look kind of weird too. Hello, I just started web dev and I wanted to ask, is semantic HTML used more than normal div approach? I think so. I mean, it's always better to do semantic HTML because I think it works better with like accessibility and screen readers and stuff. But oh yeah, someone says it's better for search engine optimization. Again, most of the stuff I work on, I don't work on products, right? I don't work on like a product where we care about search engine optimization, where like we need web crawlers to kind of go over our page. Most of the stuff I work on are like applications that are completely locked behind a private login. And once the person logs in, they get like a whole set of functionality, toggles, pages, features for like internal users of systems, right? So you imagine a place like Facebook, they might have a lot of internal UIs that people in the public don't care about. There's no search engine optimization that's needed, but there's still the need to have like these applications built so that the internal corporation can do stuff more efficiently. Yeah, I just haven't gotten around to it. So is there any reason you don't use some type of React fetching lib like React Query or SWR? And my response is maybe we'll do that in the stream. I think it's a good idea to do that. But this was, again, code that was written by a subscriber, and I'm just trying to slowly refactor it in a way that makes sense, like an iterative refactoring for my subscribers. A lot of these people watching might not even have used React Query before, but maybe we'll switch over to that. Okay, let's kind of get through these. I would say learn React when you feel like you're pretty solid at JavaScript, because React can get pretty into the weeds of JavaScript and how stuff works, in my opinion. But that's just my opinion. Some people say you can learn React alongside JavaScript. I don't think you should. I think React is too much built upon how JavaScript works and the lower level intricacies of JavaScript that if you don't know JavaScript pretty well, you might just get lost in React. Someone says fragments get turned into divs. Yeah, maybe they do. I don't know. What's the extension? Okay, the extension I have for errors is called errorlins. What are you coding? I'm working on a project so people can upload YouTube video ideas and I can kind of vote on them and stuff. Again, like, yeah, server-side props is better for search engine optimization, but like I don't need a web crawler to do any type of search engine optimization on this project. This is just a project for myself and my Discord community. I don't care if Google even knows about it. How long should I code to become good like you? I don't know. I've been coding for almost 10 years now, probably more. So I guess as long as that. I think there's people who can code less time than me and get better than me. There's a lot of smart people out there, I'll be honest, and like a lot of talented people who could easily get better than me if they just really tried hard. Show what you're working, big man. All right, let me take a break on the comments for a second. I'll come back. Just for anyone who joined, like the idea is you have an idea on YouTube. Like let's say you wanted to have a YouTube short on closures in JavaScript. Make me a video about how to do a closure. They can create that and it would show up in the UI, but we completely broke our UI right now, so it's not showing up. Let's just keep on refactoring. Right now, the idea card is not showing up. We should hopefully be able to show the ideas. And let me just go ahead and comment out the on heart click stuff right now. Like, I don't think we care about that. Don't care about the like context. This is optimistic updating that we're doing. Let me get rid of all that. Is liked. All right, let me go ahead and just make a quick function. I'm just gonna hack all this together real quick. So first of all, I want to make sure that the ideas are coming over from the back end. And they are not, or maybe they are, but I just haven't gotten to them yet. Is liked. Okay, I think I know what the issue is. I think the issue is that like the categories I created these things with might not be what they are saved as. Okay, so I know I'm jumping all over the place and like I'm probably confusing everybody. I'm even confusing myself right now. So let me try to rezone in my attention. I probably refactored too much at once and now my code's all broken and I didn't commit after making small changes. So that's my bad, but it's cool. It's whatever. There's a modal that pops up, I believe, when someone tries to create an idea. New idea button. This new idea button. I'm not a fan of how he has like a modal that's nested inside of a button. Maybe it's cool, but I think if you wanted to do your separations of concerns, like the modal and the button should probably be two separate components decoupled from each other. But anyway, this is what we got. So let's go ahead and look at this. And when we show the idea form, again, this is doing like an access request. Yeah, there's a lot of code we can refactor here. But all I'm trying to do is like there's a drop down somewhere. This is select category. And we have an ideas category here, which comes from data. And honestly, this thing, this magic number, again, this could come from like category dot shorts, category dot opinions. This is a good example of why you don't use magic numbers. We had the same string project idea coded in like 4 different places. So now if I ever wanted to change that string, it's a lot harder because you have to actually like grep the entire project and find what you're looking for. All right, so let's try to, first of all, I'm gonna clear out my database because I think I have some old data sitting around that we probably don't care about. So let's go to the ideas and let's just delete both of these. By the way, I'm using Prisma. Prisma has like a tool called Prisma Studio that you can actually modify your database in this cool UI. So you don't have to like set up MySQL workshop or anything like that. Let me also just clear out the likes. I'm going to start fresh. All right, so let's try this. I want to make sure I'm not breaking stuff. So testing, hello, select the category, YouTube Shorts, click create. We hit the create idea endpoint. We got back an idea that was created. Click on YouTube Shorts. So this what is this called? Navigation, I guess, toggles, tabs. Let's take a look at that because when you click on these, it's supposed to like actually change the ideas. I'm neglecting chat right now because I would just want to get some stuff down real quick, but I'll come back and read through some more stuff in a little bit. But let's try to figure out where the things are for clicking on this. Because right now I don't know where that is. I'm going to search for filter by. It's in the nav bar. So I might rename navbar to something else because when I think navbar, like this is like a category select. Category, yeah, I'm just gonna rename this a category select. Category selector. Or tabs, because they are kind of like tabs. So I'm gonna say category tabs. Let me rename this a category tabs. And I know there's a way to do it in the IDE, so I don't have to like jump around and do all this stuff, but I haven't done it yet. Instead of navbar, let's bring in category tabs. Okay, so that makes more sense. We have a header, category tabs, and now it's like easier for me to know like what the heck this thing is doing. So when you click on a category tab, it should call a method called set category type. Category.value. And what is this taking in? Takes in a category. Set category type. Let me make sure that let me close some of this stuff. Sometimes I get too many tabs open and I just can't like function anymore. I have to go back and just start fresh, delete everything. So when you click on a category tab, We get back the category that they selected. We pass in the category type. How does this know the categories? Oh, is that hard-coded? Probably. Idea categories. I'm gonna rename the categories. So for each category, we are going to, when they click on it, it's going to select the category. So I think this code should still work. So we should at least be getting here, which if we were to look at our React component, cannot read property of shorts. Shorts, opinions, projects, tutorials. Am I messing something up? Projects, tutorials. I mean, TypeScript would complain if we messed this up. Although the category is an enum. All right, now I'm just like talking to myself. I don't know what I'm doing right now. So let's try to figure out why this is failing. Cannot read property of undefined reading shorts. So for some reason, trying to set this thing to an enum is failing. Probably because I'm probably like importing the wrong thing. Something. Okay, I'm kind of stumped on this one. Sometimes I have to like restart my actual like Next app and like the error goes away. I don't know if this is like an issue that. Okay, so let me null check. No, I don't. Is that what's going on? Okay, cannot read properties of undefined. So the question is why would that ever be undefined? Because we import this category thing from pages, from the index page, right? So we have this enum that's exported here. It has shorts, opinions, projects, tutorials that's equal to a string. Maybe enums don't work the way I think they do. Because I thought we should be able to do this, set it equal to a value, right? Am I crazy, y'all? Categories equal to shorts, opinions, projects, tutorials. Let me just try this real quick. I don't know what's going on, but does that fix the issue? Okay, that kind of fixes the issue. I guess you can't, maybe you can't use an enum like this, where you like set an actual string equal to something like that. Anyway, let's not get too caught up on it. We'll have to come back and figure that out. But category.value is a string. So now we have to like go back and fix all this stuff. TypeScript enums. Welcome to the stream. You get to watch me struggle with TypeScript. Like maybe you can't like actually use the values that are in the enums or something. No, you should be able to. If anyone here actually like really good at TypeScript, is someone just like help me out here? I'm stuck. I'm about to just like not do it real quick so we can like make progress, but yeah, Anyway, let's just go ahead and we loop through the categories. This should be an array of value and labels. And for each category, you just do this, I think. That category type, I'm just going to change this to a string. I'll have to come back and figure that out. The argument type of value is not accessible to parameter string. That's category type. Wait, why would this thing be... Maybe I don't understand how enums work. Value and label. Do we have two different categories? Screw this. I give up. I'm just going to make this a string. And then when I set category type, it's going to be a string. This is turning into much more difficult refactoring than I thought it would be. So category here, this needs to go back to value because that's how it's coming from the back end. Is liked is not defined. I just want to get this working real quick. I'll go back to the chat and you guys can tell me how dumb I'm being. Cannot find name is liked. So here's a function that I've declared up here inside another function because I'm dumb. Let's put it here. Ugh, boy, I need to drink more coffee or something. All right, there, it's showing up now. YouTube Shorts shows up. I have this like little parenthesis showing up somewhere, which got to figure out where that's coming from. Coming from there. Let's go back to all the categories, which comes from here. I'm going to add these back. Hold up. Okay, so now it's working. Okay, I don't know what I was doing wrong, but like now it's working. I hate coding. I'm going to quit and do something else with my life. All right. Okay, so it doesn't work with shorts. Do y'all see that? Like it worked when I did this. What? Okay. It just doesn't work that way. I'm just dumb. Hold on. There's got to be a way to do this. TypeScript enum get value of. Let me go to chat. All right. I just want to use someone to help me figure this out. File is not a TS file. Hold up. Where? Oh my god. You gotta be kidding me. There should be like a an app where I can actually send money to subscribers who help me debug code. Like I would send you $1. Bastian Willert. I think you just fixed my issue. I was trying to use TypeScript in a JavaScript file. Well, that sucks. Welcome to coding, y'all. Welcome to coding. Well, at least I'm having fun. This stream's pretty cool. And now I got more issues going on. Failed to load source code. I think I just need to restart my server. Sometimes, like when you change file names, like Next just doesn't know what to do. What? Okay, that wasn't the issue. It's still complaining about shorts. So like, someone online, they said you do this. Let me try that. Or you do this. No. Okay, this is like where my new TypeScript is coming in. All right, so I think you have the wrong import. No, because if I click on this, it goes straight to the category. I think the import's fine. I think what I'm trying to do is like, I want to get the string value here. I want the shorts, the string value to come from this. But I don't know how to do that, to be honest with you all. And then online, I'm Googling around like TypeScript enum get string value of enum key. Get enum key by enum value. No, I don't want that. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills right now. I mean, it shouldn't be looking for a JavaScript file because like if you look here, it's just importing category straight from this. So this, it should know that it's a TypeScript file. Category. This is going to be like a dumb issue that I'm doing. Like category dot shorts. Category is not defined. Define it in the same file. I could try doing that. I just don't know. I don't think that's. Okay, that did something. No, defining in the same file actually fixed the issue. I don't know why it fixed the issue, but it's definitely working when I define it in the same file. When I try to import it, which should be coming from here, it can't find it. This is frustrating. You know what? Let's just cut it from there and paste it in here and export it and then import it the other way. Let's see if that does anything. Yeah, I don't think it should have fixed the issue, but like it definitely did something different. Maybe it's because it's coming from like a data folder. I'm so confused. Export const enum, is that what I needed to do? Hey, coding. Oh, wait, no, it's still not working. Let me just do a hard restart and everything. So I tried doing export const enum from the main page. I don't know if this, maybe this is like a next issue or something. Like maybe you can't, like you see this? Like I should be able to import category from the main page and use it here, but it can't find category. But if I reverse the order, if like I don't even need export const here, if I take this thing out and I put it here, and then I import it from here, like I don't get errors. It works fine. I don't know if this is like a next issue or frustrating. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and just move on. If anyone knows or wants to play around with that, maybe I'll commit this. That's what I'll do. I'll commit this code. I'll make it public. But the code's so broken right now, maybe I shouldn't commit it. Anyway, let me go to chat. I'm so like baffled. What's going on here? I know I skipped a ton of questions, but at this point, like, I'm sorry, y'all. I need to figure out this bug for my own sanity. You want to avoid circular endpoints. Like, should I just make this thing into seems like a circular import. Like, should I just make it into its own thing? Like, would it make more sense to put this in like a types folder or something? Like data, I'll just make like a types. I don't even know how to do this. Category.t or d.ts. Is that how you do it? Like, what happens if I just do this and then I don't have to import anything? Does that also fix the issue? I don't think I even need to export at that point. Like, doesn't that automatically get accessible for everywhere? It's like global now at that point. Maybe that's a better approach. Just put the category enum here in a types folder with category d.ts, and then I can like access it as a global. Yeah, Christers Douglas says some type of shared d.ts and use it. I think that might be the better solution. There's probably something going on behind the scenes with Next and how like types are shared between components, or it's a circular dependency like people are saying, but I don't know. We ain't got time to figure it out. Wait, is it broken again? All right, so that didn't work. Thought we're onto something. But putting it in category here doesn't seem like it works either. You know, let's just not waste time on this. Sorry, y'all. I don't want to waste y'all's time, but there's bigger fish to fry, and figuring out why it can't exist in one file versus the other is just not something that it's worth spending too much time on. Time box what you try to debug and find a quick hack if you can't figure out a solution, and come back to it later. Let's see if this works. Anyway, I'm just gonna move on. So the idea card, right? We have these cards, and when you click on the heart, and let me make sure this stuff works. Let me just. So now the modal is failing, which the modal is in here. New ideas form. Oh, look, here's some more heart union type categories. So I'm gonna go ahead and change that import because I think I renamed it. And that should hopefully load my modal and not crash. Go ahead and do project idea and click create. I'm just gonna do one for every single type. And do another one. Okay, that's working now. All right, so instead of doing these, I think I can just put category here, I hope, and not run into more issues with all this category stuff. And that should still work as it did before. So there's something about having the cancel button. Is that normal? Like save modal. I thought save is supposed to be on the left typically. Nope, you're just on the right. Okay. So I might actually align these to the right. So let's go to the modal. There should be like a create button. Items right, is that how you do it? Items end. Justify end. There we go. I always forget justify / items, but I think this is typically how like people do modals. They have the buttons on the right. So let's just make sure this stuff works. All right, let's just keep refactoring some code. I think the heart clicking stuff is probably broken. Like now I can't click on the hearts. So let's go ahead and try to add that refactoring. So I'm gonna add back this method here. This one is doing something. And I'm gonna say on heart clicked, is a function that does nothing, but it's going to take in an ID of a string. And when we click on a heart, let's see. Where's the heart stuff? Oh, it's right here. Coded heart. On click, toggle heart. Or clicked. Let's do this. And we need to know what idea was clicked. So I need to like pass in an idea.id. I guess the real question is like, should this actually, the thing that updates the backend to say that we hearted something, like that should probably come from the UI here, right? So maybe I should not do that. Let me go ahead and do this. Use the ID.id. All right, so again, I'm just gonna, I feel like I've just lost my concentration. I don't know why, but let's just try to abstract this thing away again to an API file. So I'm gonna go ahead and say like heart idea.ts. Make sure I name it TS so I don't waste a bunch of time trying to debug that. And I'm gonna go ahead and just copy from another file. I'm gonna bring in this endpoint, API ideas, heart idea. This API is a little bit strange. This should probably have an idea ID in the URL instead of passing it here, but at this point, I'm okay with it. Let me do this. Do this. I don't know what this thing actually returns. Like, honestly, this thing doesn't need to return anything, probably. It'd just be a promise that does nothing. Promise of void. How about that? In fact, we don't just do that. Let's just go back to the idea card. I'm gonna await on that call. Which, why did I call it get likes? It should be called heart idea. I'm gonna call heart idea. I'm gonna auto import that. And I'm gonna say idea.id. Again, this is probably a good example of when you want to use React Query. The fact that we have like manually is loading true and false. Probably a good opportunity to use something that like has all that stuff built in. All right, does this work? On heart clicked is not a function. So we should be passing it in and we should be calling it. So let's go to the index and let's check that there. Why is it that when we click on the heart, okay, now it's working. So let's just verify that we're getting here. I'm gonna go ahead and print out like the idea ID. Like so. By the way, when I'm coding and refactoring, like let me know if there's something I can change. If I'm going too fast, let me know. Sometimes I get caught up on like my own thoughts that I don't start, explaining what I'm trying to do. So I think it'd be good if you just like remind me if I'm doing something. All right, so when we click on the heart, it's probably changing the state of the like. But there's this idea of like optimistic updating, which we should probably do. So in the actual higher level, I think we were doing this before. We're already marking the idea as liked, and that's coming directly from the heart, the idea card component. Like I think it's okay for this thing to do the request to toggle the like or not. But in the main thing here, like the likes are stored in an array up here, right? So we have to kind of do some type of optimistic updates to change that to be liked or not. Now, I think what I'm doing here might be a little bit too verbose. This just seems ugly to begin with, but what we're trying to do is we're trying to increment the vote count on the thing we clicked. Well, I guess we need to know if it was liked or not, right? What am I doing? Why is this not working? My stomach is growling, man. All right, well, obviously, let's just get this working real quick. I'm going to pass in the idea. So what are we trying to do here? We are trying to optimistically update the idea entry. You know what? I don't know if this is like, I think I might be over-engineering it here. Like, let's just keep this simple. I'm going to go ahead and just do this. Let's just see if this works. It's going to be slower than doing all this optimistic update stuff, but like, it actually works now. I'm going to keep it simple for right now. I'm not going to do that optimistic updates. All right, so again, like when we actually like an idea, I'm just refetching all of them again. It's a bad approach, right? But it works for right now, and I'm just getting too caught up in other stuff. So if we kind of look through this, we don't actually toggle a heart to be filled or not. So there's something going on there where we have to fix. It's because we have it hard coded to like true. So instead of this being hard coded here, maybe this could take in a function. Sometimes feel like I'm just making stuff more complicated than what it really needs to be. But that's the iterative refactoring I like to do. So like what we're going to do is we're going to say idea ID takes in a string, and then we're going to return if that idea is liked. So I'm going to say likes.find idea ID. Let me do this. At this point, I'm just trying to get the app back to a working state so I can like commit, because I've changed so much code that now like my entire application is like not in a good state. But okay, kind of making progress. Is liked is a function that is basically just trying to find out if I have the likes here. Now the reason that's not working is because I need to refetch the likes too. I mean, it's working pretty good. I don't like how the cards are like stacked up. So if I add like another one for opinions on, oh, one thing I noticed that when you create the card, they're not showing up when you currently have the tab on, right? So that's like a little bug we should probably dynamically refetch. The new idea button has a modal. I'm gonna cut this out like at some point. Let me focus. I'm like jumping around. So when we actually create the thing, where's the on click? Create. Oh, it's probably like an on submit, isn't it? Type submit. So when the form is submitted, we are doing something. Use form. Handle submit. On submit. Again, another Axios thing. So let's just clean this up real quick. Let's make this into an API. I'm going to say create idea.ts. Go ahead and cut this whole thing over. I don't think we even use the idea that we created. We don't use a response. So let's just go ahead and say create idea. I'm just trying to like clean up this a little bit. Data session. Okay, so like these are the things that the request needs. We wouldn't know what the idea ID is, so like we can't just change this to an idea. we actually need to probably set in like a new prop. So I'll just do this. And I'll say this is a string. You know, there's a way to do union types. Const idea without ID. That could be a type. I need to remember how to do this. But like what I want to do is I want to say it is an idea without something. And I know I've done this before. TypeScript, omit field from other interface or something. I think I used omit before. So this type, I don't know if it needs to be interface maybe. Yeah, pick or omit. The type is equal to something. I'll just say type is equal to this omit idea without ID. Does that seem right? And then I could say like this is almost a fully functional idea without the ID. Probably need to import that. Oh, probably don't want created either. Can I omit multiple things? Oh, you can. Created at. We don't care about vote count. Title, description, author, image, and name. At this point, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know if this is a good idea, but we don't care about. Oh, maybe we do care about the session. Author image and author name. I mean, for the sake of consistency, like let's just allow another argument to come in. I'll just say like author is an author type. Which has a image and a name. Not a fan of this. I'd rather have this come from the backend because it's actually grabbing the session. But it looks like we just need three things. We need title, description, and category. So I think it might have actually been easier to use a pick, which I've never used before. But I guess you could just say title, description, category. Let me know in the chat if I'm doing something that's dumb, but I'll go back and reread what you guys are saying. But let's go back. Let's try to call this thing create idea. And we need to pass it title, description, and a category. And then we also need to pass it an author, which I think if I just do this, that'll do something for us, hopefully. I guess this could technically be undefined. I don't know if it makes sense to just pass this a single object. It probably does. But I think this thing is optional. Author image, string null undefined is not. Yeah, I don't know why they do that. String null or undefined. I guess I have to do that kind of to get that working. No? Author image. Oh, I called it image, didn't I? I did. Image and name. Which I guess this technically could be null and undefined as well. Seems kind of weird. I mean, we can fix this later. This seems kind of hacky. I don't know, but it's a little bit better that we pulled that out to a different file, I think. Maybe you guys can let me know. Let's just make sure the app still works. So we're trying to I think we're refactoring the ability to create an idea. And oh yeah, what we're trying to do originally, before I got distracted with more refactoring, is when you create an idea, it's not refreshing all the ideas for this category. So unfortunately, unless we use context, we need to change where that thing's coming from. So in the header, this has a button which has a modal nested inside of it. So I don't really like that idea. Oh, I don't really like how that's set up. So I'm going to pull the modal out into its own component. Navbar page. And I'm going to call it create idea modal.tsx. And how do we typically do components? Is it export? Yeah, const. Export const. Create idea modal. Paste that in here. Modal was ant d. So if we were to have a create idea modal, where would we put that? We should probably put it on the page that's rendering it, right? So underneath the section, I'm going to put the modal here. And I never know where should the state that is in charge of showing or hiding the modal be. Should it live in the actual parent component? Should it live in the modal itself? I think it makes more sense to have the parent component know about the modal, when it's displayed. But I don't know. So I'm going to go ahead and just dynamically render this thing if show modal is true. And then for the header, there's a button called new idea. So I'm going to go ahead and say on new idea. Clicked. And I'm going to say set show modal of true. I know I've been neglecting chat. I just wanted to kind of get some stuff done, to be honest with you all. But let me just go ahead and type this as a function that takes in a... What does it do? Nothing. I just have it do nothing. Don't need props. So when we click on this button here, new idea button, which I don't know why it's even its own button class. Let's be honest, it could just be put, let's just cut this out and put it here. And then we can call this callback on new idea clicked. Probably don't even need to have it in a callback here. And then the new button stuff could just go away. New button. I don't think we need that anymore. Is this making sense? So let's make sure this thing shows up still. Show modal is not defined. Okay, so ant d, I guess, requires a show modal to be passed in. Not a fan of that. But I guess we have to kind of pass it in as a prop here so that we can actually do this. Show modal. And we could set that equal to a Boolean, like so. This is in TypeScript. The moment I'm done with this modal refactoring, I'm going to commit and I'm going to read the chat. All right, so stick with me. I'll come read the chat in just a second. On cancel, I guess also needs to hide the modal. Okay, this sucks. I should have just kept the Boolean in the modal itself, probably. Unless there's another place that we decide that we want to hide and show the modal. I guess this should just all live here. And this thing doesn't even need props. Wait, that doesn't make sense. We have to pass it in, right? Okay, I don't know. I'll just do this. So when this thing will take in a void, take in a boolean, parameter has no name, is displayed. All right, there's no more red in this file. I guess it's okay. This thing I need to add back. This thing, I don't know if this is a good approach, but the only reason I'm doing this is because this header needs to be able to toggle. In fact, I probably should just toggle it here so that if they were to click create, I guess you can't click create again, so I'll just do that. All right, so what did we just do? The modal used to be nested inside a component called button. And when you click the button, it would show the modal. Instead, I'm pulling the modal up to a higher level so that I can kind of like be a little bit cleaner. Excuse me. And then we have some show modal state that's in the page itself, which will like show the modal for us. And the reason we did all that was so that we could just like call another function for when this thing was created. Okay. So we need to add on item created, give that some type of handle item created callback. On item created. This thing will be passed in here. I'm just doing prop drilling. Honestly, it's up to you if you want to do prop drilling or not, or Zustan. I think prop drilling is sometimes the easiest approach forward. So that's why I do it. But the main reason I'm doing all this is because after the item is created, I just want to call it. And we can, in the actual, like up here, we could do something with it. So I'm going to say const handle item created. I don't even know why I'm calling it item. It's called idea. Handle idea created. Now I'm going to refetch the ideas for the category that we're currently on. On idea created. All right. Again, I don't like having props defined out here. That's just a personal preference. I need to get my ESLint set up so I can actually like refactor this stuff better, but does the app work? Let's refresh. Let's try some stuff. So I'm on project ideas. I click on this. Hello. I'm going to say project idea. Click create, and it shows up on the actual tab we have set up now. So all that just so we can have it dynamically show that idea. And I don't know why the images are not loading. In fact, I think I might know why. I think I might know why. So in the idea card, I believe in order to get these images to show up, you have to like set a reference policy or something. I do this in another application, I believe. Let me just go ahead and look real quick. It's called like WDJ Online Classroom. And let me check the header. React refer policy Google profile images. There's like some security thing where like you can't load the image from Google for some reason. I need to look more into security, I'll be honest. But you have to add this to your image component. This thing is complaining, but we'll fix that in a bit. Let me go back. All right, so now the images are showing up. I know I said I'll go to the chat in just a second, but I'm just I want to figure out why these cards are all in one column instead of being in separate columns. Honestly, all the navbar pages, I believe we don't even need that anymore, so I can delete that. And then for is liked. Oh, this needs to be Boolean. All right, so I know I'm jumping around a lot. I'm just trying to get this into like a done state. So the cards, where do the cards show up? Well, if I go to the index and I go over to the section here where we map over the cards, this is a grid, but this is in a div. So I think the issue is that this thing needs to come out like this. I need to get rid of the div. This needs to return an actual Boolean. There we go. And I don't, maybe it's the new stuff I add that's like broken. I probably have something wrong with the images. ZZZ, yeah, I think I'm storing the image incorrectly. So, great idea, author image. This is the one I just sent over to the backend, I believe. But for some reason, it's like not loading. And now it loads. I don't know, there's something going on with like trying to show these profile pictures from Google. But yeah, let me commit what I have because I think we've done a lot of stuff. This is in a much better state than it was before. At least I think it is. You guys might think I just made a mess out of everything. But let me go ahead and commit what I have. I need to get into the habit of using the actual like source control here. Add everything, refactoring everything. How's that for commit, y'all? Let me go ahead and push that. We did it. Kind of. There's still a lot more we have to refactor. I don't know if I should scroll all the way up to the top. I've kind of neglected everybody. Let's see. If I skipped your question or comment, like, sorry, I just need to get caught back up. By the way, I have a Discord channel if you guys want to like talk to me directly or just be part of a community. So I can send you the link to the Discord if you want, or just go to my like YouTube description and I think it's there. I'm just always curious. I guess I'm just always interested in building that just in case, like, I don't know, just cool to have a community going. All right, I'm just gonna start at the bottom. If you have a question that I missed, just ask it again. It's cool. I'll just try to address it. How long I've been working in React? I've been working maybe 3 or 4 years. And it's funny because when I say I've been working in React, the way we do React at my job is not the way that you do React. Like we don't use many hooks inside of our components. We try to keep our components logicless. Like this is not something we'd ever do in a component. Like having use effect, and then like these use effects are storing state. We don't do this. So I kind of feel like torn between like what I'm teaching and what I'm doing at work are completely different. We use a library called Cerebral.js, where a majority of our state is actually stored externally. And then all of our components just basically invoke either methods that are passed into props or render from state that's passed into props. So we don't have this stuff in our components at work. And the reason we do that is that we think that it allows us to easily test the logic of our presentation layer versus using something like React testing library where you have to end up like testing all this weird stuff with like hooks, and then like doing integration tests when really you just want to do a unit test. So that's kind of like what I've been doing. I coded in Angular. Bishan said I'd be interested to see you code in Angular. I coded in Angular a long time ago. I started with Angular.js, and then we switched over to Angular 2 a lot of RxJS, NGRX. It wasn't bad, I'll be honest. I don't know why people hate on Angular. It's just I think a lot of people don't like TypeScript, or they're like adverse to TypeScript. And since Angular chose to use TypeScript for everything, I think people just hate on it. And I mean, Angular follows some pretty good architectural design patterns like dependency injection and stuff like that, which are good to have if you want to actually test your code and be able to easily swap out components later on. I've never used Preact before, so no, I don't recommend it because I don't know like what it actually provides you. Maybe it makes it more performant or something. Let me kind of address some comments. Yeah, I'm using TypeScript. Someone asked, what language is this or something? This is TypeScript. Just Alexander Things, what CSS framework are you using? I'm using Tailwind CSS. I just started trying to learn Tailwind, mainly because everyone else is using it. And I do find myself being a little bit more productive using it than having to like jump back and forth between styles and stuff. I wouldn't suggest spamming the chat unless you want to get banned or something, but how frequent design patterns are used while writing code? I don't really know. Like, are you talking about like Gang of 4 design patterns? I honestly haven't really used many design patterns when it comes to building out React UIs or building out backend stuff. I think a lot of that stuff is like for Java developers. And I think you can kind of code yourself into a overly complex system by following design patterns blindly. I think they have very specific use cases, and it's good to be aware of them so that you can apply them when you need to. But I wouldn't say like you need to find every possible design pattern and like use them, because it's just gonna be crazy. Beginner programmer, would you say that is something unique to your workplace, or is that common in the industry to handle state that way? I start my first job on Monday and I'm curious. I don't know. It depends on what people think about testing, I believe. Some people think that unit testing is a waste of time and it's not useful. And they just use React testing library, which is kind of like an integration test, to be honest. It's like an integration testing framework. Because in order to test a single component, you have to also like, by default, you need to also have all the children be instantiated and tested as well. You can mock them out using Jest and stuff, but I like to be able to like unit test stuff. And if you look at this code, like how do you actually simulate that the effect fired once in your unit test, right? So it just gets more complicated with like React hooks and stuff. But I mean, I think the norm is probably this, where people just use a bunch of like hooks and state and stuff. I think what we do as Cerebral is like not the norm, but we have where we work, we have a very strong testing culture, and we have a very like clean architecture focused things that we try to apply to our code base, if I'm even explaining that correctly. React has a small bundle size according to its community. Yeah, the one thing that I think I'm different than a lot of other people is I don't care about performance. I'll be honest with you all. Like, people seem like they hype up trying to shave off 50 kilobytes off of your bundle. It's like, I honestly don't care. Mainly because most of the applications I work on, the users need to use it. They're not going to leave your site if it takes an extra half a second to load. The applications I work on are actually critical to their underlying mission. So yeah, it's nice to have their applications load quick, but every day they come into work, they're going to load up the UIs I'm working on because that's what they need to use to get their job done. And there's this thing in a browser called a caching mechanism, where once the application loads the first time, every other feature request, if you set it up correctly, will come from cache. Okay, so having your first bundle be big is really a concern for people who are like trying to get those marketing sales, right? The first time someone hits your website, they've never seen it before, You want that first load to be as fast as possible so that they don't maybe hit the next button or go back to another site that loads faster. I don't work on sites where marketing is a big deal. Again, like I said, like I work on sites where they're going to be using this every day, multiple times a day. Their browser is going to cache like the JavaScript. So even if the JavaScript's 2 megabytes gzipped, it's not an issue in my opinion. Also, like people seem like they care so much about React performance, like talking about like when they need to use memo and use callback and stuff, and it's just like just speed stuff up when stuff is slow. I mean, yeah, I kind of like I don't know, I'm kind of torn. Like React is cool, but it's really complicated in my opinion. Like this stuff is kind of complex. And understanding how state is like asynchronous when you update it, it's kind of hard to wrap your head around. Versus something like Vue seems a little bit more straightforward, and something like Svelte is a lot more straightforward. I just like JSX, and I like React's like how JSX was kind of first created with React. So I'm kind of like sold on that. I don't like the templates of anything else. I don't like Angular's templates. I don't like Vue's templates. I don't like Svelte's templates that much. Kind of like how we can do like dot map and like loop over stuff. Let's see. Vision says, I do find React difficult because of all the weird terminologies. Yeah, it's like the weird terminologies, but it's also like the strange stuff with like use effect. And I mean, people say you shouldn't have to use effect that much, but I do like the one-way data cycle. So like data is passed down into the children, and then like it does a full loop. There's no like two-way data bindings, which I think can kind of get kind of crazy in Angular and Vue and stuff. All right, call to the capital. What do you use for unit tests and integration tests? Jest and React testing library. I mean, that's like the de facto standard that everyone uses, but at my job, we just use Jest. We don't use React testing library. I have a video on this that I don't know if I published yet, but instead of having like all the logic live in the component, it's actually externalized as much as we can. There's some components where you have to have like hooks and stuff like that, but for the most part, we just have like, I don't know. Just stay tuned for that video. It might make sense. All right. Rosique says, I am new to web dev. I have learned HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. What next should I learn for the full stack dev? I would move on a little bit to learning about Node and like the database and how you can make your front end connect to the database to send data, retrieve data. I think that's the next logical step in my opinion. And then you could probably move forward from HTML, well, not HTML, CSS. You can move forward and like start learning React or some of these frameworks to make building out your front ends a little bit easier. Time complexity. Is it so important? Big O notation? I don't think so. I mean, unless you're building like a game engine or something that's like super reliant on performance, I've never sat around and be like, well, this double for loop is going to be slow, because most of the stuff you show in a UI, let's be honest, you use pagination and you only show a certain amount of records at once, or you use like lazy loading. So you don't care about large data sets in a UI. Maybe if you're using some type of like charting library or graphing library canvas, you might care about big O notation, but I don't think it's important for being a web dev. What is your opinion on Lua? I have never used it before. I think you can use JSX for basically anything. Most of these things have like, I don't know about Angular, but I think there might be a way to use JSX for different stuff. I could be wrong. I'm probably wrong. I think Solid is way more beginner friendly and senior friendly framework. Yeah, I don't want to spend more time learning a new framework, I'll be honest with you all. I'd rather just stick with the React, be good at it, Maybe in 5 or 10 years when React dies out, I'll move on to something else. But I'm okay with just sticking with React. I'll be honest with you all. Yeah, React Query definitely removes a lot of the use effect confusion. I think this refactoring I did, we could probably move it into React Query, especially with like the loading stuff that it does for you automatically. And there's like, I don't know, there's a lot of useful stuff in React Query that you should probably just use it. Okay, beginner programmer, I actually try not to use effect now and just use React Query as much as possible. That is my jam right now. Yep, I think a lot of people use React Query. I might actually refactor this more to use React Query. We can kind of figure it out together. How important system design is while creating complex components. For example, history component in Jira. I've never, when it comes to coding like React components, I've never done like a system design. I mean, if you, okay, so the moment you have like a backend and you have to do like data processing and asynchronous operations, that's when like a system design diagram comes into play. But I don't know what the history component in Jira is. I've never used that before. So would you use gRPC over REST? I've never used gRPC before. I hear it's more performant. So if you're trying to really like shave off kilobytes and network request sizes, then maybe you want to use gRPC. Maybe there's a learning curve to it. I don't know. For the most part, like if unless you have a good reason not to use REST, I think REST is like the de facto standard for a lot of good reasons. So you probably want to use REST. Then you start branching off to other approaches if you find a need for performance, or like I like to use tRPC because I'm able to write my backend in TypeScript. Um, Zune says, have you tried Maytine or Chakra UI? What other component libraries would you recommend? I've tried Chakra. Seems like it's pretty cool. I'm not sure if I'm a fan of like all the like box components you have everywhere. It seems kind of strange, but again, it's like I've only played with it for 30 minutes, so that's my analysis of it. I don't have the time to spend like days trying to play with the UI framework and get some feedback on it because I only have so many hours in a day, and I don't want to keep jumping around from framework and library and technology. I'd rather just get good at one. Timothy asked if I'm using clean slash hexagonal architecture in my T3 stack. Honestly, nothing I do on YouTube is doing any type of clean architecture because I think there's an extra layer of complexity it adds that a lot of people on YouTube are more beginners, and I think it would kind of go over their heads of why we do stuff the way we do it when you're doing clean architecture. Yeah, but it might be interesting to actually try to start applying that to the T3 stack. Alive says, how do you know if you're a mid or a senior in between? I haven't really thought about this too much. I mean, a senior developer is someone who can basically build whatever they need to build by themselves. But I think a senior developer also has responsibilities of like teaching others and leading a team, kind of. Like knowing when certain tech choices are good, when certain tech choices are bad for their use cases. I think a mid is probably good at building applications, but maybe they're not as good as like leading a team or talking to clients or communicating with stakeholders of the project why certain things can't be done by certain deadlines and stuff. But I don't really know. Maybe Google that one. Yeah, another good way to know is like if your title. Are you a mid? Did you get upgraded to a mid title at your company? Then maybe you're a mid. But I mean, there's some people who are like senior engineers, 3 years of experience. Like, I don't think you can be a senior engineer after like 2 or 3 years. So if you have a senior title after that short amount of time, either you are like one of the best developers in the world, or your position is being like oversold. Because I think to be senior, you also need to like work with production systems and do many deploys to production and fix deployment issues, fix production bugs. And you don't, that's not something you can just read or watch a YouTube video on, right? You have to actually get into the details of it and get that experience. And then yeah, soft skills for sure, like being a senior, like as a junior, you might be nervous in meetings, you might not speak up much. But as a senior, like you have to pretty much make choices, make decisions, and own up to those decisions, right? Like you might have to make a technical decision about a feature, and you have to basically be able to explain why you're doing that feature and why it works better this way, and convince others. But yeah, I mean, you guys down to do some more refactoring? I think there's some more stuff. Like I do want to pull in React Query at some point in this project, but I just want to make sure that like we've gotten it to a state where it's like good enough to pull in React Query. Like this stuff, this seems kind of hacky, to be honest. Like the get likes should not be refetched whenever the category changes. So I might pull this out into a separate use effect. And again, if you're using a React query, like you don't need to do this. The reason I split these up is because like we don't need to refetch likes every time the category changes. And the category changes whenever someone clicks on one of these tabs. Okay. I would like to be able to figure out this. I should be able to set this to a category, to be honest. Can I do that? Set category type. I'm going back to this refactoring here. Like I want to figure out why this wasn't working. Category value, categories. I think it's working now. Anyway, let's make sure that works. Okay, I don't like how, you see how when I hover over the heart, it like shifts all the content on the page? I think that's bad UX. So I'm gonna go find that card, and I'm gonna find the heart, and there's probably like a hover effect on it that's scaling it. Probably this one. I don't want that. There. I don't like when the page shifts. It's just jarring for users. What else can we do? This source thing, I mean, like, what we could do instead is we could make it fall back on a default image. So it's complaining because sometimes author image could be undefined. So I think what we want to do is like, we probably want to default it to, I don't know, profile.jpg or something. And if we go into assets, let me just do logo.jpg real quick just to make sure this works. And I'm going to go ahead and put this to null. Not sure why logo.jpg is not loading assets. Not the assets folder. Maybe it's like a public folder that will be displayed in next. But I thought that the assets would, I might have to import it. I'll go up here and say like import logo from / assets. Actually, I can do this. Assets logo.jpg. Oh, it's already imported up here. Let's try that. I don't know if this will work, but let's try doing that instead. What's it complaining about? Yeah, I guess you can't do that or something. I thought this would be like, hold on a second. I thought you could do this. I feel like there's like some things I get stuck on that are just like so basic that it's like, why am I getting stuck on this? And it's frustrating because it's like I've been coding for so long that it's like I shouldn't be getting stuck on this simple stuff. Let me just delete some of this unused stuff, clean that up a little bit. I don't like how there's like a bunch of comments everywhere. Probably should delete some of this stuff. To be honest, like I don't care about the loading state right now. Session data. Is this even used? I guess I'm just using the status, so I just need that. And oh wow, thank you so much, Timothy. Timothy did a super chat. Thank you so much for making the clean architecture video. I do think clean architecture with T3 stack would be a video that could gain traction. Again, thank you so much. I definitely appreciate the super chat. And yeah, I'll try to make one. I just need to remember to do it. What am I missing? Someone asked, do you use Redux? Is it often used in the industry? I don't really know if people use Redux that often. I'm sure it's used a lot. I don't use Redux anymore. It's just overly complicated in my opinion with like having to dispatch all of these events, and these events are like decoupled from the actual logic. So you can't just command click and like go to where the event is being handled. I don't think reducers are that good either. Like reducers are just, I don't know. I have a lot of opinions on React that I don't think many people agree with, but like the fact that you can't mutate code in React, I don't think is a big deal. I think mutating code makes it easier to read than doing all this like set state with like the spread operator and like overriding stuff. It's just, I don't know. I try to avoid stuff that forces me to use like immutable code. All the events and stuff that we have to dispatch in Redux are just confusing, in my opinion. Redux Toolkit's a little bit of a better improvement, but still, I just have it's a bad taste in my mouth with Redux, so I just don't go back to it. Alex says, have you ever developed smart contracts? Yeah, I have a couple of videos with Web3. I just got out of that phase because I just think Web3 is just filled with a bunch of like scammers and shady characters, and it's just, I don't know. I think that's cool technology, but it might take like 5 years before it's actually like viable. Like until I can go to a grocery store and buy my food with crypto, I just don't care about it. I'll be honest with you all. But I think there's some money to be made from people who are trying to get contracts made. Like even as like a developer, I just want to play around with crypto. To deploy a real contract to the Ethereum network, it costs you like $2,000. So I just don't think it's a viable solution. And I like the fact that a bank, if someone were to steal my bank credit card and like charge stuff, I can get that money back. If someone steals my crypto wallet, I'm out of luck, right? So there's perks, there's benefits and cons between crypto and like the normal way we deal with money, in my opinion. And I rather just stick with the way we're doing stuff now. If someone says I can do a fixed height on the card and let the size of the heart get bigger on hover. Yeah, that's a good idea. I could probably do that. I found web dev to be quite repetitive. It really is. I mean, most of websites is like you make a form, the user types in or selects some data, they submit the form to the backend stores that. And then the other side of things is you need to fetch some data from the backend and display it on the page. That's basically what every single page is in web development, right? Even this. Like you have buttons, you click it, it fetches data, or it either submits data, and that's about it. Now there's some cool stuff that you can get into with web development where like you do really complex stuff, like if you look at Code Sandbox, this is like a good example of like front-end development getting really intricate and really cool and complex. And going back to the Cerebral docs, the guy who made Cerebral actually works at Code Sandbox, and he made Cerebral so that they can manage the state. You can imagine how difficult all of these components all interacting with each other. Like that's a lot of state that needs to be shared. Right? When I change this, I need to update this. I might need to, when I click this, although they might just be using VS Code Editor in here at this point, but Yeah, the guy who made Cerebral Docs, I believe they made it for this library or for this code sandbox. And then he moved over to Overmind.js because he wanted better TypeScript support. So I don't know if Code Sandbox is still using this. Overmind is running the main application of Code Sandbox IO. So Overmind is running the main application of Code Sandbox IO. So if you think that this application is complex and cool, then this is the framework that they're using. They're not using Redux. They're not using custom hooks. They're not using all this other stuff. They're actually using this framework that kind of abstracts away React from your business logic, which makes it a lot easier to test, I believe. But the maintainer of this project actually moved on to yet another project, so I don't know if it's even worth like looking into. I mean, I would use this honestly, but that's another question. All right, so I guess I'm trying to figure out why next assets folder. Is there like a certain folder that you have to have for stuff to be like displayed? Only assets that are in the public directory at build time will be served. So I think maybe I'm conflating some ideas, but I think what we want to do is we want to make a public folder here, and we want to put this here. And I think we should be able to access that if we restart our next. Yeah, there it is. So now if you don't have a profile picture, it'll show that logo of me. Okay, they got the cards working. Awesome ideas. I think I might get rid of that because like, or at least I might need to put it above the tabs. It might make more sense up here or something. YouTube video ideas. Container, MX Auto. Oops. Not sure where this content thing's coming from. Get rid of that. Probably not a good idea to have. Content. And then this div doesn't need to be here probably. This section could probably be a container, MX Auto. And same thing with the categories tab. Like this whole thing should be in a section. So let's just refactor that a little bit. All right, that looks a little bit better. I'm gonna put this front. The header, I think the header should be in a container too, honestly, but that might have to be inside of this. So container MX Auto. There we go. It looks a little bit better. Yeah. Just keep going through some code. Just keep on refactoring some stuff. So we got this page. It has a header, it has category tabs. Is there anything we can do to refactor the category tabs? I don't think so, other than like I said, I like putting the props here directly on the component. I mean, this one looks pretty straightforward. I don't know, category type maybe? That should probably be called category. And then let's go back to the index because this might fail. Oh, that works fine. Category tab seems fine. Search bar. I don't know where the search bar went. He used to have a search bar somewhere, but now it's like gone. New idea form. Someone asked what I'm making. I'm just making a site where people can upload ideas for my YouTube channel and people can vote on those ideas. I actually started this project. I asked someone to build for me, but I haven't heard back from him in a while. So I'm just kind of like doing stuff my own, just refactoring some code, making it better. Idea card seems like it's pretty good, I think. Header, great idea modal. Yeah, if anyone else sees like places that like you think the code could be cleaned up, let me know. I personally want to set up ESLint to like make this format in a way that I want to have it formatted, but I just don't want to get around to that yet. I'm trying to think if we brought in a React query right now, like this will clean up this a little bit. Could try doing that. You guys want to try doing that real quick? Let's just install React query and see if we can get this going. React query. I need to go to the docs for React query because I don't remember how to do it. I'm sure you have to like set up some type of provider. Someone said add some margin to the top logo. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. So I'll go to the header component. I'll go find that logo, which is here. And I'm going to go ahead and... No, I could just add margin to the entire header component like this. Yeah, that's not going to work. How about some padding? Is that what you're saying? Just so it's like a little bit of space there? I think it's a little bit better. Getting started. How do you do this? So you have to do like a React query provider. I go to my pages app. I think I can do this. And we're going to go ahead and in that. Go ahead and bring in this. I think I installed the wrong package. Yeah, I installed the wrong package. So let me just go ahead and make sure I install the right one. And let me go back to my package JSON and delete this. Go ahead and run React query to install that. And I might need to restart my dev server. I don't really know. But let's make sure this works. So we have the React query stuff set up. And now we should be able to use it. Query client. Query client, use query. All right, let's try this out. So instead of having an on mount use effect like this, I'm gonna go ahead and just call this. And I'm gonna make the cache name likes. I'll go ahead and do this. So I think if I do this, so that'll change this a little bit. I have to refactor some code to get this to work, but object is possibly undefined. So if this is not defined, I'm just going to return false. All right, so we have React query hopefully working. A good way to check is every time you like leave the page and come back, React query will automatically fetch the likes. And we see we get the likes back. Now when I click on the like button, it didn't really unfill that. So let's try to figure that out. I think before we were calling set likes here. So handle heart clicked. We probably need to tell React query to refetch. I think it's called refetch. I could be wrong. You could also just invalidate the cache, I believe. But that works fine too. Just tell it to refetch. So what we've done here is we removed the need to have a use effect. Oh, I didn't know React Query had dev tools. Chrome React Query dev tools. What does it actually do for us though? How do you install it? React Query Dev Tools. And stacked React Query Dev Tools. I'll try it out. I've never done this before. I don't know what this provides us. But it looks like you can import it inside your app like so. By default, React Query Dev Tools are only included in bundles where node environment is equal to development, so you do not need to worry about excluding them during prod builds. Okay. They're saying side by side, you just do this. So you bring it into your app and it's pretty good. But what does it do though? It gives you a button. Ah, that's cool. So what does this do though? Refetch, invalidate, reset, remove. Okay. Kill. Pause inactive. That's interesting. So it gives you a way to like peer into your React Query cache. You can invalidate it to have it refetched. Like I bet you if I click on invalidate, it does a fetch again and gets it. That's pretty interesting. I didn't know that thing existed. So thank you so much for kind of pointing that out to me. I'm not too sure how I can use it, to be honest. I guess it saves you from having the console log stuff, but it's pretty cool. But let's see if we can do the same thing with the get ideas. So right now we have like a use effect for this. We could do a similar approach, hopefully, where we have ideas here. Refetch ideas, refetch likes. This. All right, so yeah, instead of having to like, I don't know if I need to do ideas here. I could probably do this, couldn't I? All right, so what this is doing is now I don't have to have my own little like use state hook. React Query is going to handle that caching behavior for us. And we could just refetch the ideas like this instead. Now the only issue is I believe that this thing, yeah, I don't know how you type this. I think I need to do something like this. No overload matches all. Oh, get ideas, duh. I'm on the wrong method. Although it's still not working. Category string, promise any. I think there's a way to get the actual like prop. I think I can do this, right? Yeah, I need to go back to the React Query docs. There is a way to know. If anyone knows, let me know. But like, there should be a way for me to fetch. Oh, I'm an idiot. Okay, all I need to do is just. It's in state, right? I just do that. I got too many indentations. It's hard to follow here. Does this work? Let me do a hard refresh real quick. As I navigate, React Query should be fetching some stuff. As I create a new idea, an opinion is on. Hello world. What is up? There you go, comes in. It'd be cool to be able to sort these ideas by the likes. So like I have a vote count on these, I think. So what I could do is this could be a derived, ideas could be kind of like derived, or I don't know what the correct term is for it, but now the issue is I'm gonna go ahead and just make a new constant called like sorted ideas. And I'm gonna go ahead and try to figure out the best way to do this. Because I don't think sort, or will sort return the actual thing? We'll figure this out real quick. Return a dot vote count minus b dot vote count. Get sorted ideas. Let me do this. This thing is going to return all this. And I know you could use memo or use callback or something, but again, like I don't focus on performance from the get-go. I refactor performance when it's slow. And I don't know if sort will return sorts an array in place. I think that's the main issue. So I might have to say like sorted ideas is equal to if there is no ideas. How about this? I'm running into some TypeScript area issues because sometimes ideas can be null. So I'm going to say if it is null, return an empty array. And then I'm going to make a copy of ideas and I'm going to sort those. Like so. And then return sorted ideas like this. How about that? This is super messy, probably, but it's okay. Let's go ahead and map over the sorted ideas here. And it's always going to be defined. And right now I'm sorting it backwards, so I need to swap the order of B and A. Now we get all the hearted ones will come first. And I think I could actually log out. I don't know if I have many Google accounts, but yeah, there you go. Now they're sorted. And now, like, people will argue that, like, this is not performant. The people who argue that, I don't think understand how quick it is to run through an array of, like, 100 items. Like, we're talking, like, a millisecond to sort 100 items. And you're never going to have more than, like, 100 ideas on a page, hopefully. Because if you do, you're probably doing something wrong in terms of UX. So I don't think there's an issue with this. And if the page does slow down, you could potentially use, like, a use memo here. Or use callback maybe, but I don't think it's a big idea. I mean, I don't think it's a big issue right now. Yeah, so is this cleaner? Using React query? Don't know if this is cleaner, but I mean, it seems cool. I guess we don't use the idea anymore, so we can get rid of that. Let me just go ahead and commit that. So I said importing React query to clean up the use effect calls. Let's go back. Let's see what people are saying. Yeah, I mean, adding React query, you just saw me do it in like 2 minutes. You just install it, you wrap your your app thing with a query provider, and then you should have direct access to those different things. Yeah, or if you're using React, you probably have like an index file or something. What extension is that for TypeScript? I'm not sure what extension you're talking about. Yeah, so Frederick, yeah, I mean, you at some point, if there's going to be a ton of YouTube ideas, like you're going to need pagination. But if I have more than like 30 ideas on opinions on or 40 ideas, I do plan to have like a button where I can log in as an admin. Like if I log in as my role right here, I can mark an idea as completed. That'll load up a modal where I can put a URL to my YouTube video. And then maybe we'll have like, I don't know, up here we'll have like a completed or new ideas or something. I don't know. Or just another tab here that says like completed. I also wanted to add like tags. So like you could add tags of like React or JavaScript or stuff like that, and maybe allow people to filter based on the tags. But I'm just slowly adding features to this. Hopefully the guy who's working on it can also get back to me and start adding some features too. Yeah, does anyone have any questions for me directly? I think this application is at a much better state. We've done some refactoring. Hopefully you guys learned something along the way. We ran into some issues with debugging. This is something I can't still figure out why I had to put this inside of this datas folder, but there's like a search bar here. Maybe we can implement the search bar. Oh, it's called error lens, I believe. So like when there's an error, like if I were to do like this, it's red here. That's the error lens extension. But I'm gonna put any for right now. So there is a search bar component here. I don't know if this is used anywhere. It doesn't seem like it. I think he started getting into the search functionality, but if we were to add a search bar, we should probably do it here. So let me just go ahead and do that. All right, we got a search bar. And what we could try to do is like, as you type into this, we can filter out the ideas based on what you're searching. So let's go ahead and load up the search bar, and we're going to go ahead and allow this search bar to modify some state that we're going to store at this level. So I'm going to go ahead and say like search and set search equals use state of an empty string. And, we could just pass these two things in. So set search and search. Make sure we pass those in. So we need to make sure we have search is a string. Set search would be a function that takes in a new string. Like so. Okay. Save that file, go over here. We're passing those things. So as they type into the search bar, we basically want to, on change, we need to set the search. So e.target.value. Like that. And honestly, I don't think we need a search button. We could just do it live. I guess it's good to have a button just so it's like, it makes sense. But honestly, as they type, the search thing should be updated. And we can filter out the sorted ideas even further. So we can say filter ideas by search bar. And I could say return ideas to filter, ideas to filter dot filter, idea name. Actually, I don't know what this would have in it. Ideas to filter. Title or description? Let's just do title. So I'm going to say if there is nothing typed into the search bar, we're just going to return the thing that we passed in. If there is something typed in, then we want to make sure that the string of the title includes the search that the user is typing in. And we could kind of get ideas to display. We're going to filter them out first. So filter the ideas like this. I'm going to make these more pure. So instead of like having those come in from state, they're going to be passed in so that we can kind of compose these. So sort them and get the filtered ones. Is this a good approach? Who knows? So the issue is that I guess this could be undefined. Maybe we want to do that. I don't know. So instead of get ideas to display, this would probably be an actual like value. And in this case, maybe we're getting to the territory where we might want to like use a memo. So I think it's like use memo is like this. We probably want to memoize the search and the ideas. then we should probably pass in. Yeah, I don't know. Let's see if this works. I probably have bugs. Okay, so it's case sensitive, so I should probably also make sure that I'm going to lowercase this and also to lowercase this. There we go. So now you can get your ideas. You can search through them for title. Maybe we should also do title or. So if the title has it or the description has it, so we can search through both of those. And I'll type in like ZZZ. Let me make one more. Dog, cat, opinions on. Go ahead and type in cat. Type in dog. They both come back. Nice. This UI is coming along now. Use memo is missing a dependency. So I guess technically, like, you want to have this be a use callback. Think I don't know. Using the use callback and use memo are some things that I never really like fully understood. I mean, I kind of understand them, but like, you know what I mean. Like you think you understand it, and then like you start using it, and you're like, oh, maybe I don't really understand this, and then you use it, and you're like, oh, I got this, and you use it some more, and you're like, oh, maybe I don't understand this. But I think this is good. Like this inner function requires search, but we want to make sure that the dependency array has search in it, and we only want to recreate this function if search changes. Whereas this one doesn't depend on anything. So technically, it just takes in a function. We could actually pull this out if you wanted to. You could pull it out here. And I think it should still work just as it did before. And then also, I mean, we could probably refactor this. Instead of using a use callback, it could take in search string. Maybe that'll make it cleaner. I do think using the use callback and use memo can make things a little bit more confusing. So let's just make it a function that takes in search and put it outside. Sometimes this is a good way to keep your code easier to understand, is because like whenever you have stuff that's depending on state or whatever that's declared in your closure or your function at a higher level, it can get kind of confusing. So if this thing is just a pure function that takes in ideas and string, like we could probably just do this, and now it's a little bit cleaner. Does that seem cool? I don't know. What are your thoughts on this, pulling out functions to the top that are just pure functions? Yeah, I don't know. Let me commit this. Doing some more refactoring with searching and filtering. How long has this stream been going for? 2 hours? Oh my. Yeah, it's just at this point, it's just a personal preference. Like I personally don't like functions that aren't pure. Like I think keeping the functions pure makes them easier to understand, because when you have a nested function that's hitting like 3 different variables, it becomes very hard to know like what in the function does it need. Versus if you can pull it out and just pass the things in, it's super easy to test this. Like I could easily export this and write a unit test for this now. Or I could like I can see that this thing only depends on 2 things, an array of ideas and a search string. Versus when you put it in the actual function, let me just kind of show this. If I were to put this in here, this is my argument, right? From the get-go, this thing, this search thing is kind of like a global, right? You're accessing something at a higher state. So it's a little bit more of a cognitive load to like see that, okay, this is depending on some higher level variable or state, which in a sense, I think it makes it harder to understand. So what did I just do? Let me go ahead and pull that out. Uh-oh. Good thing I committed my code. Let me just revert. All right. By the way, anyone new to the stream, click that subscribe button, click that like button, join my Discord if you want to ask me questions directly or ask other people who are part of my community. I'm trying to build a community of people who are trying to learn how to code and make a friendly place where you can kind of ask questions and get help. At this point, there's a lot of people who are asking for help, so I can't guarantee that I'll be able to answer your questions directly, but I'm hoping we'll have enough people who can answer other people's questions, and just I think the goal is to make a nice community that people are friendly towards each other. Thanks, Tina. How's everything going downstairs? Do I need to sign off of here? I see there's 83 people in the stream still, so I don't know if I should just keep going or... I don't think you should be using refs unless A, you need to access the DOM elements, or B, you have to do some like weird hacks to like know when certain things have like, how do you phrase this? When you need to like have some type of mutable state, that's when you want to use refs. But I would try to avoid refs because I think they make code a little bit harder to understand, in my opinion. Yeah, anyone got questions? Any more questions on any of this? You guys want me to make this repo public? I probably should. If you guys want to like check out this code. And you're free to like contribute to it as well. How do I make this public? It's at the bottom, isn't it? Oh, yeah, change visibility. I actually do already have authentication, so like... So I have a plugin called Error Lens. It's an extension right here, Error Lens. This is like the one extension people have asked me over and over again about. Like, it's a really good extension. I definitely recommend you install it. Cool. I'm glad you had fun watching my stream. This is my wife, by the way, Tina Seibert. She's like the person who always says "good job, babe" on all my videos. So if you ever see her in my comments, your goal is to try to beat her and try to leave a comment before she can. I will say that I kind of give her the insider trading of when I'm about to publish a video, although I haven't been doing that lately. I just been kind of scheduling them at 9 o'clock. But yeah, I try to publish a video at 9 o'clock every morning Eastern time. So, you know, stick around and watch some videos. Again, I try to make videos for my community members. So like if you go to my Discord and you ask for, if you request a video, I can't guarantee I'll get to it like within that day or week, but at some point I try to touch on topics that people actually are interested in learning about. And again, a lot of my videos are unplanned and unstructured. So someone asks a topic, I just load up OBS, I click the start record button, and I just go from there. I might say something that's wrong. You can call me out in the comments. That's cool. But I don't like to plan for my stuff. If I can't talk about it off the top of my head, then I'm probably not going to talk about it. And sometimes I do like put in the effort to learn more about it. But like there's this one, let me go to my YouTube real quick. I did this refactoring video. Let me scroll back. I don't know if I'm supposed to even show my dashboard. I think there's some rule that you can't show how much you're getting paid or something, whatever. So which video is that? Live refactoring. Oh, this is the one I published today. Today the 30th, yeah. So I published a different one. This one. Already has 20,000 views. Oh my gosh. This one's really popular, huh? But let me go to the actual video and let us go through. There's some comments that I want to kind of talk about because they're kind of frustrating. Yeah, you can say good job, babe, if you want. I mean, you should probably reserve that for my wife to say good job, babe, but you can try to beat her and just leave a message. All right, but I want to share some comments because I'm getting some comments that are like kind of frustrating because I don't think people understand like the purpose of my content, right? So if I can scroll down, like this person. Yeah, so this video, like I just loaded up a project and I'm like, let's just do some refactoring real quick. And again, like that diagram I showed at the beginning, like there's a certain point where you just call it quits and you say this code is good enough, versus spending an extra 30 minutes to an hour making it like super performant and stuff. But like there's this like one person who got pretty mad. I hate when people reverse engineer an API, and I will give him credit for that one. I think I was hitting a API that follows a hate OS. I've never used an API that uses this hate OS thing, but there's this idea that if you have nested resources, those nested resources have links instead of actual like IDs. So like instead of what was it for? It was for like an actual like API. Oh, it's for the Star Wars API. So subscribers working on building a project using this API. And if you look at their API, instead of returning like nested objects, they return URLs to nested objects. So this is actually a format called like 8OS or whatever. I've never interacted with an API that does this. I mean, if you look at the Stripe API, like they don't do that. I'm pretty sure the Google API doesn't do that. So in my opinion, it's kind of like a strange way to have nested things. I understand the purpose of it is so that if people were to refactor their URLs, like it's not going to break everything that you've been working on. But this guy got pretty mad that instead of using the next URL that was provided, I went ahead and just like did some stuff with IDs, which I'll give him that. Like I probably should have followed and used the correct thing. But at the same time, again, like I'm just trying to, oh, here it is. You also added a horrible race conditions with the async stuff into your use effect reducer. If someone were to spam clicks the next page button, then async statements inside use effect can get set out of order. So let me see if I can find that code. I think I might be done with this project for right now. But let me just go ahead and kind of show you what this guy's talking about. I don't know if I still even have that. This was for a project called Star Wars API, I believe. And if I look at the index, where do I refactor this code? It's probably this one. Yeah, so I did some changes on this. So when you click on go back a page or go forward a page, I'm just incrementing set page by 1. I'm also getting some angry comments about this. Like people are saying that this is not the proper way to increment a page or a counter in React. You can convince me otherwise, but this is fine if you actually know what you're doing in React, because I believe page, when this app renders, so the first render, it's going to load the initial state and you're going to have access to 1 here. And then due to the way closures work in JavaScript, every single function in this page will be equal to 1, right? So if we click go forward 1 page, it's going to add 1 to 1 and make it 2. So the argument was this guy was saying that I need to actually use previous page here. And this is like the correct way to do it. You can do your state logic like that, but honestly, in some scenarios, it's fine to do this. It wouldn't work if I did this. That doesn't work because setting state in React is asynchronous. So it's just going to keep on adding 1 to 1, which is going to be basically doing this due to the way closures work. Like it's basically going to call the same thing every single time. And you're going to get that. But what I was trying to get at is like, I'm not doing that. So I don't know why people are mad about this approach. But anyway, what I'm trying to get at is if I go back to this guy saying about race conditions, again, this was like a 30-minute refactoring. And if I didn't want people to click the next button after you've already clicked it, honestly, what you probably do is you just have some type of like is loading thing, right? So let's see if I can just run this real quick. Let me go to projects. Where am I? CD projects, Star Wars API. Let me reload this real quick. I'm just going to do some more refactoring. Like, why not? We're already here. So if I look at this project, I think this is using normal React. So I have to like do npm run dev. So here's the API. You click on next button. It takes like half a second. It loads some results and then it displays them, right? So the guy is saying that there's a horrible race condition because I used use effect, which, and maybe he has a good point. Maybe what I should have done instead was I should have, when you clicked on the back button, that's when I fetched the data. But I mean, one scenario you could just do is like, you could just say loading, set loading, and I could just put this to false. And I'm going to go ahead and just like set this to true in the effect. And then when this stuff is all done, I'm going to set it back to false. And then like you just say disabled loading. Like it's literally as simple as that, right? So his argument about like, actually maybe it is still kind of bad. There's kind of a delay, so maybe I should actually like put that here. So yeah, maybe that's a good point. Okay, so that's, maybe I need to put it like there. So like the moment you actually click next, you set the page to loading so that you can't click it again. No matter how like how many times they click it, I don't think it lets them click it twice, right? And I just went out of bounds on the pages. So I guess what I'm trying to say is like, I don't really plan my videos too well. Like this was a live coding. I literally just looked at this guy's code and I started refactoring it. And people seem to get really mad about stuff. I don't really know why. But I guess he responded, so I should probably go back and just read through it. But maybe I'm just getting defensive over it. But yeah, I need to actually like learn more about hate OS, and I thought it was kind of interesting. Oh, this guy had a comment about use effect should not be used. I was kind of questioning like that. It's like, is it okay to use the use effect? Maybe it's more logical to just like have a function here. So like we could have said fetch page, this is a page number. And then this could have done all that logic here like this. And then instead of having to, I know I just jumped in this code. I didn't really explain it at all, but I mean, go back and watch my video if you want to see me refactor some stuff live again. But if I, didn't this thing used to have like a page somewhere? Oh, I think it's here. So someone's saying instead of using use effect to like listen to when page changes, what we could actually do instead is fetch the people based on the page number. And we can kind of use those people. Promise all. Get the person from the home world. I think I screwed something up. Oh, yeah. So this was actually a helper function that was here, I believe. Yeah, I got too ahead of myself. This is like a helper function that doesn't depend on state or anything, so I can kind of pull it out of the function and make it a little bit cleaner, in my opinion. And then we fetch the people using the page number that was passed in, and we set the characters. So I guess there's like a couple of arguments coming in that instead of doing the use effect, what we could have done instead is like on the actual click itself, what we could have done was I guess this. Bear with me. I'm trying to think. So page minus 1. So we'll set the page to page minus 1. We'll fetch the new page like this. We'll set loading equal to true here. In fact, we could probably just do the loading stuff inside of this. And then when this is done, set loading back to false. I think it's fun to kind of like just play around with code and like try to see if you can make it cleaner in such a way. But let's do this. Fetch the page, page minus 1, page plus 1 equals page plus 1. All right. Okay, so yeah, so we can't do the set loading here because we'd have to do it here. Again, there could be some more code cleanup, let's be honest. And obviously you probably want to use React Query here because having to wrap this stuff in the use set loading is just like extra work that there's libraries that do all this for us. So let's go back and see if this even works. Yeah, I think this is definitely a great example of why you just want to use the use query thing. Although I definitely did break a bunch of code here, so I think you still want to have it work when you mount the page. So yeah, I think instead of doing like all this extra stuff, you just need to realize that there's libraries out there. So let's just bring in the TanStack use query. But I think what you also have to remember is that like some of the videos I make for people are for people who are beginners. And every time that you throw a new library at them, it's just more stuff that they are going to have to learn, and it's just more overhead for them. So I think when making tutorial videos, especially for the demographic of people who are on YouTube, it's kind of good to like keep it simple. I mean, maybe using React Query does keep it simple, to be honest, but let's just go ahead and bring in React Query again and just wrap the app with this. And we are going to go ahead and do this. Pull in the query client. I think we're doing that right. Yeah. All right. So instead of doing all that extra stuff with the loading and stuff, we can make this easier by just using React Query. So I'm going to say characters. I think there's an is loading thing equals use query. And then we could just go ahead and pass in. We want to pass in the page. Guess we could, couldn't we? But we could pass in the page, which defaults to 1. And we could probably run a function that does like a majority of all this stuff. So let's just go ahead and make a new function here. Call like const fetch characters. Again, I'm just doing some more library coding. This has to take in a page though, so we'd have to like do this. And we'd have to return this. Okay, I don't know if having these be 2 separate functions is actually useful or not, but that's what we're going to stick with. All right, so instead of doing all this extra stuff, we could pass in page. Go ahead and do this. Don't think we need any of this anymore. We don't need the loading stuff. We don't need the fetch stuff manually anymore. Don't need a use state for variables or for characters. Don't need loading. We do need set page though. Why is this complaining? Use query, import it. Set characters. This thing just needs to return the characters. Is loading. So did we make this cleaner by doing this? I don't know. I think we did. Although it's broken. So cannot remap. So I think what happens is like sometimes the characters will start off being undefined. And again, this is probably why you want to use TypeScript, because like we only want to do this characters is actually defined. So let's go ahead and like do that. Here we go. I can go to the next page, go to the previous page like this. Although I'm not sure why it takes, sometimes it takes a very long time to like fetch the next page. It wasn't doing that before React Query, so kind of concerned about that. I'm not sure why it's taking so long sometimes, but probably also want to disable it if we're at page whatever. So if page is equal to 1, disable the go back, so or page is equal to 1. There we go. Anyway, what was I showing right here? Showing that if you use React Query, you don't have to worry about managing an isLoading state anymore, so that cleans up your code just a little bit. Also, you can just have React Query automatically refetch based on some state variable changing, so you don't need use effects anymore, and now your code is just a lot cleaner. But the point I was making is like, I was trying to do iterative approaches to the refactoring, and I just cut off at a certain time. And some people get mad because I didn't do it the way that they think refactoring should be done. But if I spent 2 hours on a component, then yeah, I might have gotten to the point where I brought in React Query. Maybe we should actually like use the next page here that's brought in instead of page number. Because I think what happens is when you fetch the characters, they actually tell you what page is the next page. But anyway, anyone have any questions about anything? I'm not trying to call anyone out and make comments though. I think I like how everyone leaves comments because it really helps me like grow as a developer and a React developer and stuff. So I'm not trying to say that I didn't appreciate this guy's comment. In fact, I think he pointed out a lot of good stuff. I just feel like there's some like negative connotation to it. Especially when it was like, I hate when people refactor APIs. It's like, bro, just calm down. I was going to try to do this today, but honestly, like this stream is going on for like 3 hours, so I might wrap this up soon. But yeah, I'm going to stick around for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Also, be sure to join my Discord if you want to ask me questions or ask my community questions about React, programming, or whatever. But let me read through these real quick. Flash is saying, please tell me some project ideas. I mean, I would just clone like a social media site. If you can't think of your own ideas, just clone an existing idea. Clone Etsy, clone Craigslist, something like that. It doesn't have to be like a brand new idea. You're not trying to build a business. You're trying to just gain experience, right? So if you can just clone an existing project, then I think that would be good. You know, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the publish time to a different time. That'll give you some additional time to leave your comments. Yeah, beginner programmer. Yeah, I think people like seeing refactoring. Honestly, because I think it shows like the real life cycle of like looking at code, analyzing code, rethinking code, changing code. Most of the stuff you watch on YouTube is just like planned out projects of people following some code that they have on a third monitor, and they're just like typing that code verbatim and explaining it. And that's not coding. I don't think that's a great way to learn how to code. I'd rather watch someone do a live stream. I'd rather watch a professional use some proficiency shortcuts. Like sometimes, yeah, I might go fast and you might get lost, but you can pause and rewind the video if that happens. And if you're getting too lost, then I think you need to take a step back and like go learn the basics of whatever I'm using. That guy's just having a bad day. Yeah, and I think there's just people out on YouTube who just leave comments. It's like, I don't know, it's like a toxic developers out there who think that they have like the best ideas and that they're gonna shoot down your idea the moment you say something incorrect or wrong. Just sad, but just the way it is. Yeah, honestly, I would try to avoid use effect. I just don't find use effect intuitive, especially now with React 18 strict mode where it like calls your effect, unmounts your effect, calls your effect. It's just a mess, honestly. So if you can avoid use effect, I probably would avoid use effect or just use some type of helper hook that kind of calls use effect under the hood. I'm a hacker, black hat, use Kali maybe. I'm not sure what your question is. I felt relieved when I found RQ because all the state management was getting annoying. Maybe I'm cutting corners. No, I think using some type of React query is definitely like drying up code immensely. Like in most applications, you need to know when something is loading or refetching so you can show a spinner. And you end up like writing all that code yourself if you don't use React query. But I do agree that like React query does a lot of fetches. Like if you notice, as I was like going away from the tab and coming back, it'll like automatically fetch data again. So you got to make sure your backend is built to like handle all those requests that React queries is doing all the time. I think you can turn those off. Like you can tell the query to like not do the refocus fetch. But sometimes like you don't need to refetch the data, right? You know it's not going to update because it's like a more statically, it's more like static data. So basically you have to create cleanup functions inside use effect to ignore stale responses. I've been doing this for 4 years now, and I have never seen any bugs caused by this, especially if it's multiple calls. That you will have to do anyway. Nothing to do with use effect. That's a feature of the API. I'm not sure what you guys are arguing about, but keep at it. I love it. um, Hi, is this the second part on the React Refactor review? Yeah, the first part was me refactoring a completely different project. So over you watched the first like 2.5 hours, I just kind of came back and addressed some comments that people left on the Swappy project. So you can watch that. It's like at the tail end of the stream. How can you still adapt with front-end technologies updates? How do you learn? I think I have a video on this where I basically say I just like watch other people on YouTube, kind of give an overview, and then I read the docs and then I use it. But a lot of the times, like if new tech comes out, like Bun or Node or Fresh, I'm not going to touch that stuff because A, it's too new. And I don't like using new tech, honestly, because I rather other people stumble and trip over all the bugs and make a bunch of issues on GitHub. And then in 2 years, I can come back and all that data is there for me so I can quickly be proficient at this new technology. Unless the new tech really gives me like a huge, sorry, I lost my voice, a huge advantage over like what I'm doing now. Like I just wait on other people testing it out and trying it. And I wait for like reading a bunch of blog posts and like Hacker News articles about it. Because like when MongoDB first came out, everyone was hyping over it. But then when they started using it in production, they started running into a lot of issues. So it's like you need to just wait until these people spearhead it and see how it works with their projects. And if they start like saying it sucks, and then, you know, hopefully I made my point. Beginner programmer. Agree, even the act of seeing you do things differently to how I would is good. Getting mad about that is crazy because I assume you know everything and it's just not true. Yeah, I think there's like this false reality where we see people on YouTube and we think they are like super experts on everything. And it's like, no, they're just developers who just happen to know stuff and they're just happening to teach some stuff. But the moment you say something that's like incorrect, like so many people get mad of like, oh, you're not teaching the best way. Like, dude, there's no right way to do coding. Like, I don't have to use React Query. I could build a fully functional SaaS product and make money and not use React Query at all, right? So it's like people have different opinions, and there's not really a good reason to listen to a lot of people's opinions. Yeah, I mean, the strict mode in React 18 is actually a good feature. I'm just saying that, like, it can kind of throw off beginners if they don't really understand what the purpose of that is, but it really helps you find when your code's buggy. All right, I'm gonna wrap this up. If you enjoyed watching, give me a thumbs up. Also subscribe if you're new to my channel. I'm gonna try to stream more. Usually it's on Saturdays in the morning. But yeah, stay tuned for my videos. I try to publish them around 9 a.m. Eastern. I just do random stuff. I don't really have any planned topics. Usually it's Next or React or TRPC. Tailwind is what I'm kind of focusing on right now, but in 2 months, maybe I'll change it to something else. But yeah, and also join my Discord if you want to be part of a community of other people learning how to code and sharing ideas about how to code applications and stuff like that. Or ask me questions if you want to, if I have time to respond to them. Anyway, oh yeah, also if you want me to look at your GitHub project, send me a GitHub link on Discord, and if your code looks pretty bad, maybe I'll do a live refactoring on it. If your code is pretty decent, then maybe I don't even need to like do a live refactoring. So yeah. Wait, please answer my question, Mohammed. I was trying to use ref with a button tag inside TSX file today earlier, and it was giving me type errors or something. Can you explain how to solve that? Mohammed, go to my Discord, send me a link of your project of what you're talking about, because I don't really know. I need more context. What makes you love web development? I just like the fact that you can build applications that anyone can just load up their phone and go to a URL and actually start using it. So it's like the accessibility for your application it's an easier impact on others versus like desktop development or game development, where like people have to actually like buy your game or download your app and install it, versus the internet's awesome. So like, why not just build applications that are focused around the internet? Anyway, have a good day. Sorry for everyone who joined late, but rewatch my stream if you want to see me refactor some code.